Come on, guys, make some noise. They just won a championship. Let's hear it for them.
Round one of the 2026 Progressive Grand National Cross Country Racing Series. Your AMA National Championship comes to Union, South Carolina for the VP Racing Fuels Big Buck GNCC. Your reigning champion, Ben Kelly, looks to repeat here in 2026, but he's got some heavy competition, as now Grant Davis will line up on the XC1 Pro Road. How will he compete against the top riders in the sport? It's time to find out as racing starts right now live here on RacerTV.com.
Are you ready to go GNCC Racing?
Look at that. That is a full XC1.
Is this a NASCAR race? I think if Johnny can maybe send it around the outside like he's trying to do there. Justo gets the overall win with an lap time of 3:10.04, edging out Stu Baylor by less than 3 seconds.
Racing dirt bikes, it's a lifestyle. It's something where every single choice you make sets you on the path to how you're going to succeed or perform. You live this every second of the day.
Stu hauling the nail.
Stu is one of the most gritty riders out there.
Johnny out front, Caleb pushing as hard as he can.
This is everything they have. That was a battle.
That was a hell of a ride by both of those men. Like he's got a cougar on the back of the bike.
Stu Baylor taking the inaugural Talladega GNCC win.
Been doing a great job, extremely patient, extremely intelligent out there, even in the heat of battle, and it's paying off for him right now.
2 wins in a row for King Kelly. Overall leader, Grant Davis, as well as your physical leader out on the course.
Checkers are records, and Grant Davis comes out on top. Your overall winner on corrected time and physically.
3 hours is a long time. 3 hours of racing is gnarly.
I know I can show up, and I know I can win on any given week.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to round one of the 2026 GNCC Racing Series. Johnny, it's Sunday, it's bike day, and I'm fired up. I think we got a lot of big names with a point to prove, and we got a lot of names trying to say, hey, last year wasn't a fluke. I can do it again each and every round.
Well, if we had 30 minutes for this opener, we couldn't cover everybody who thinks they have a chance at this championship. Zach, you so acutely pointed out yesterday in our opener, everyone tied for points, everyone having the same opportunity here to win today, leaving here as the XC1 and or overall points leader for the season, and that's a pretty exciting prospect coming into today. But the man that got it done in 2026, our overall and XC1 champion, Ben Kelly, coming in, riding the high, fresh off his second #1 plate. It was a battle right down to the end, but he got it done, and we actually had an opportunity to catch up with Ben and get his thoughts coming into this new season.
I'm feeling really good, feeling confident. My body's feeling a lot healthier than last year. Yeah, been able to like train more consistently and not be just struggling as much, just, you know, trying to feel okay. But like I said, a lot more healthy, more time on the bike, just all last year was building my base back up, my fitness, all that stuff. So feeling confident coming into this year. Having the #1 plate also gives me confidence. And yeah, I've been doing it a long time, so I just kind of stick to my program, work on my weaknesses, and just try to get better and better every day, and know that I got to prove myself every race.
Man, Johnny, so great to hear from the defending champion. Ben Kelly, he even touched at our Night of Champions how good it felt to be able to get back to where he felt comfortable. Coming off several years of severe injuries, and you yourself can touch on this. A lot of riders, we may see them on the pro line. They may say they're at 95 to 100%, but to really get at 100% health-wise and then to be able to feel like you're riding at 100% as well, that takes some time. So it's so great to see Ben Kelly back in his own ways, and no surprise, those old ways took him right back to the top.
Absolutely, right to the top. Another #1 play for Ben Kelly. You know, you go back to 2022, and we've talked about this so much. The question was, will anybody be able to challenge Ben Kelly? Winning the first 6 races of 2022, then it was the injuries. He's back to near top form right now, but there's no longer a question of who can challenge him because that list is just absolutely staggeringly long. We have I believe it's 6 former champions in the form of, obviously, Ben Kelly, Caleb Russell, Josh Strang. You also have Craig DeLong, Jordan Ashburn, and Johnny Girard. So you have 6 former champions in addition to Ben Kelly in the lineup here today. And that's not even taking into account the kid, Grant Davis, our XC2 champ, coming in, battled Ben Kelly down to the final race last season, and he's hot coming in this weekend. So many riders having an opportunity to shake things up here.
Yeah, Grant Davis, the kid is just running on a high, and we even heard mid-season last year that he really started to believe that overall championship was possible, and he almost stopped concerning himself with XC2. It seemed like every round we saw Grant Davis, Gus Reardon, Cody Barnes up there inside the top 3, almost changing the game of how this XC1 Pro Row approached the start of the race. It was sprint speed right from the beginning, and we heard from almost all of the guys that you just mentioned saying, hey, we got to figure out a way to up that pace the first 30 minutes to an hour of the race and then maintain it all the way through, because the kid, he's not fading. And so we're going to see him on row 1 just like we did at our final round of the season last year, and we were actually able to catch up with your XC2 reigning champion, now on the XC1 Pro Row, Grant Davis, about his thoughts coming into 2026.
I mean, I want to win. And I definitely got a chip on my shoulder from last year what happened, and I've been training as hard as I can. I mean, I've been doing everything I can with mindset, with Denise, and doing all the motos that Steve tells me. Before I'd be a little bit weak for sure, like maybe just something happens in a moto in practice, like I'd be like, oh, well, whatever, it's just practice. But this year I've been trying as hard as I can, going as fast as I can for racing, and just, when you ride at 100% in practice and you come to the race and say you need to ride at 90%, it makes it a lot easier. So, it definitely, my mindset is probably 100 times better this year than it's ever been.
All right, well, there you have it from the young man himself, Grant Davis, telling us what he's thinking coming into the season. We know confidence is never an issue with Grant Davis, but you have to wonder, coming in, now it's not a question of maybe I can do it. He was there. He just about had the job done, if not for a few costly mistakes at the end of the season. So I think he's going to be a dangerous man coming into 2026. But, it wasn't just him in that XC2 class. We got to talk about those guys. You mentioned them before. You got Cody Barnes, Gus Reardon, and there's a whole bunch of other riders as well in that mix. But it was those 3 last year that were pushing the pace. Looking at the end of the season, you had 3 XC2 riders in the top 5 overall in GNCC, and one of those riders is still sticking behind an XC2. We got to give Cody Barnes some love quick, though. He is moving up to that XC1 class as well. That is overall number 3 from last year. It's not like he's coming in not a proven entity. He is absolutely coming in one of the top 3 riders from last year, moving up to that front row, now on board that Liqui Factory Beta team, and saying he's gelling well with the bike. He could be a threat to win here. But looking in that XC2 class, you have to just take a long, hard look at Gus Reardon and think to yourself, can anyone match this guy's pace? Switching over to that Phoenix Honda team, he was so fast last year, battling for race wins, battling for that championship, and ending up in the top 5 overall. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with, but I'm sure there's plenty of riders looking to take a shot at him.
Yeah, Gus and that entire Phoenix crew is looking no further than the number 1 plate in the XC2 class. That's what they're after. But don't forget, just a year ago, Johnny, the new kid in the XC2 class, T-Rex Nick DeFeo, he jumped up not only grabbing the overall wins, but physically beating the entire XC1 class by, I believe, over a minute. Now, wasn't quite able to share that same luck throughout the entire season, but we often talk about those kind of rookie season mistakes. Nick even talked about it throughout the year. I'm still trying to find that comfort. The stars aligned at round 1. Now that he's got a full year under his belt, can he get that more consistent to where he's frequently staying up, maybe able to tag along with Gus Reardon, learn that pace, and potentially start to threaten some overall wins and maybe have this title fight as well?
Absolutely. You mentioned Nick DeFeo. You have to mention the win that he took, like you said, last year here at round 1 in the deplorable conditions. Obviously, the weather this weekend, it's been a little questionable. So how bad are the track conditions going to get today? Are we going to have a near perfect racetrack? You just never know. But if the conditions get tough, we know Nick DeFeo is one that's going to work his way to the front. He's proven that many times before.
Hey, absolutely. GNCC is so exciting. Mother Nature doesn't even want to miss it. And it's just about time to get things kicked off and get the green flag flying. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we will officially kick off the 2026 Progressive GNCC racing season. We'll be right back.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? Don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Brought my +1. Jamie.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com. Get ready.
And we would like to welcome everybody worldwide watching on Racer TV. Welcome to Union, South Carolina. Welcome to round one, the BP Racing Big Buck GNCC. And we're just about ready to get it rolling. At this time, I'm going to make my way over to the fence, and it is just about time to introduce to you guys your starting lineup. Only the best of the best get to line up on the front row of a Progressive Grand National Cross Country race. And you're about to see the best of the best go head to head for 3 straight hours. As we take a look, our pro riders starting to make their way over to the staging area. Still looks like quite a few to make their way over. The FMF Factory KTM squad got the number 1. They've got the number 2 ready to go. And as Mr. Griff Cotter makes his way over, Griff, you tell me when to go, buddy. You tell me when to go. Here in this one, we are going to go as Griff goes. Like I said, only the best of the best get to line up on the front row of a GNCC. And we're about to introduce who you can expect here, not only at the VP Racing Big Buck GNCC, but for most of your 2026 season. This will be your lineup. The boys all making their way over now. Here today, they're going to be rolling to the line in accordance to the 2025 Progressive Grand National Cross Country points. Just about ready to get it underway now, folks. As we get our XC1 class worked over here to the staging area. Once the boys all get here, we'll introduce them to you. Piazza still over in the paddock. You need to be over here. We're just about ready to set it off. A season it's going to be. The KTM boys, they're ready to fight it out. There's no doubt about it with the 1 and the 2 under the tent. Caleb Russell, he's got back to his winning ways. I know he's going to be ready to go. Johnny Gerard back in full effect here in 2026. Greg DeLong ready to get himself back to the top of the championship. I can guarantee you that. Thad Duval on a new team. He'll be ready to go. The new 18-wheeler parked over in the pro paddock. You can't forget about Liam Draper. And Pro Yamaha got a good squad here in 2026 themselves. They're not the only ones. Phoenix Honda has their sights set on a championship here in 2026. Beta rolling in as well. Beta gonna have 2 450 machines under their tent. Mike Witkowski getting a win there to finish out that 2025 season. You know he wants to stand at the top of the podium once again. And it is just about time now as the final few riders make their way over. everybody, without further ado, let's introduce to you your XC1 Open Pro starting lineup. Rolling to the line first on the number 1 FMF KTM Factory Racing. Backed ride, Ben Kelly. Rolling to the line next on the 198 Ampro Yamaha, Liam Draper. Rolling to the line next, aboard the number 8 Phoenix Racing Honda, from North Carolina, Mike Witkowski. Rolling to the line next on the 557 Ampro Yamaha from Boonville, North Carolina, Caleb Russell. Rolling to the line next from Donald, South Carolina, on the 514 Rocky Mountain Red Bear Kawasaki. Let's hear it for Stuart Baylor. Rolling to the line next, aboard the number 3 Phoenix Racing Honda from Livingston, Tennessee, Jordan Ashburn. Rolling to the line next, aboard the number 7, making his way from Denver, North Carolina on the Liquid Moly Factory Beta Racing Machine, Josh Strain. Rolling to the line next on the 342 Rockstar Energy Husqvarna Factory Racing back ride, making his way from Pennsylvania, Craig DeLong. Rolling to the line next on the 314 from South Carolina on the Rocky Mountain Red Bear Kawasaki. Let's hear it for Grant Baylor. Rolling to the line next, aboard the number 99 Liquid Moly Factory Beta Racing Machine from Illinois. Let's hear it for Cody Barnes. Rolling to the line next, aboard the number 206 Rocky Mountain Red Bear Kawasaki. How about a South Carolina welcome for Josh Toth? Rolling to the line next, after a long-awaited return, aboard the number 80 from King, North Carolina, on the FMF KTM Factory Racing Machine, Johnny Gerard. Rolling to the line next on the 989, a new team here in 2026, aboard the Racecraft Husqvarna from West Virginia, Thad Duvall. Rolling to the line next, aboard the 336 Vicon Services JDP Moose Off-Road Honda from Mocksville, North Carolina, Ryder Lafferty. Rolling to the line next, aboard the number 2 FMF KTM Factory Racing Machine, the Playboy, Grant Davis. And that will be your starting lineup here from the VP Racing Fuel Big Buck GNCC. We're just about ready to set them off now. A few more things in order. This is where we like to say, DJ Judd, remove the meat. Want to tell all of the fans out there, make sure that you get behind the white stringer line, before these bikes take off. The maestro in turn number 1, Ricky Towery, going to take this race into his hands, and we are going to go as Mr. Ricky Towery goes. Keep your eyes on him in turn number 1. A muddy day here in Union, South Carolina. Anybody can pray for rain. Who's going to get to digging a well today? And Ricky Towery scans down the line. We are just about ready to go now. And as Ricky takes a look down at his clock, here we go, folks. Ricky staring at the watch, and there it is. Blue flags wave, blue flags wave. Shut them down, shut them down, shut them down. Blue flag wave, shut them down, boys. Shut them down, shut them down. Once again, blue flag wave, shut them down, shut them down. And at this time, this is when we like to ask, Big Buck, are you ready to go GNCC racing? That was all right, but this is the start of the 2026 season. You made the trip here to South Carolina. I want to hear you get loud. Big Buck, are you ready to go GNCC racing? And 10 seconds for row number 1, your XC1 Open Pro. And here we go into turn number 1. Who's it going to be? A great drive from the Ampro Yamaha machine. And Liam Draper going to grab the whole shot with Grant Davis right there. But take a look at that. Jordan Ashburn jumps in and steals his lunch money. It will be Liam Draper into turn number 1 first. And here we go with our XC2 class. And here we go, shut them down, shut them down. And here we go in 10 seconds for your XC2 250 Pro. Angus Reardon, Jack Walker, Jason Tino, Brody Johnson, Nick DeFeo, Gavin Simon, Christopher Paris, JoJo Cunningham, and Jason Lipscomb. Who's it going to be? A great drive here from the Kawasaki machine, but not going to be enough. It is the 19 machine of Jack Walker with the whole shot and the early lead. And here we go, row number 3, your 258 class, set to roll in 10 seconds. Lane Whitmer, Colton Shields, James Jenkins, Michael DeLoza, Ryan Piper, Joshua Connor, Rayleigh Messer, Dylan McDonald, Cooper Jones, Chase Landers, Collier Martinez, Dylan Cruz, JoJo, Caleb Shearer, Ty Atkins, Trevor Goetz, Lane Smith, Owen Barnes, Zachary Baumgartner, and Hunter Smith. Here we go, row number 4, shut them down. Your 158 class ready to roll in 10 seconds. Charlie Simpson, Camden Krause, Colton McQuarrie, Gabriel Jimenez, Arsen Bonner, and Parker Savage headed into turn number 1. Who is it going to be? A group of Yamaha riders, but it is the 881 machine that is going to get the whole shot. That is Parker Savage. Row number 5, shut them down. Your Open A class. Set to roll in 10 seconds. Cole Whitmer, Jason Crawford, Isaiah Brown, Kiefer Galliano, Samuel Evans, Easton Flick, Joe Shriver, TJ Brown, Davin Scheich, Hayden Jones, Van Adams, Colby Goodman, Braxton Gross, Will Siebenpiper, Jose Mercado, Trevor Holland, and who's it going to be? The 3-4-3 maybe. That's Will Siebenpiper, the Jordan boy with a whole shot. Tyler Mumford, Mason Humphrey, David Myers, Devin Moore, Gene Schleifer, Kyle Ruck, Tyler Hamrick, and Jerry Lanther. Here we go, row number 6. In 10 seconds. And there it is. Your 4-stroke A lights class off and running. Doc Smith, Brody Amos, Brady Bomber, Ryan Amancia, Lennox Riley. A ton of them in this one. The 225 machine going to get it done. That is Ethan Harwell with a whole shot. Here we go, row number 7. Your junior A, 25 plus, set to roll in 10 seconds. Shane Howerson, Sean Cochran, Devin Cap, Deshaun Horton, Seth Bevington, Eli Childers, Matthew McDonald, Caleb Hayden, Tyler Hayden Dillon, Joseph Lynn, and Kevin Donovan. Looks like the 393 able to get it done. That's Eli Childers. Brandon Gearing, more running that one out. Oh, row number 8. At A, 30 plus, set to go in 10 seconds. Joseph Fitzgerald, Jacob Chestnut, Michael Jarasco, Wyatt Schumann, Dakota Duran, Ryan Neff, Julian Light, Matthew Dreyer, Ben Bowens, Grant Mara, Chance Phelan, Dylan and Andrew Bogg. Who's it going to be? The 3, 4, 5 going to get it done. That is Michael Jarasco with a whole shot. Blue flag waves for row number 9. Your senior A, 40 plus. Here we go. And 10 seconds for Joe Marsh, Messalino Batista, Frank Messina, Pete James Bauer, Fernando Pino, Alexandria Legant, Gilerados Melee, Danny Haffel, and Travis Green. And it is the 1, 2, 3. That is James Bauer with a good drive. Whole shot, an early lead for him. Here we go, row number 10, your 250B class. All fan rolling in 10 seconds. Owen James, Michael Stroop, Brandon Slatzer, Brandon Bailey, Kane Martin, Chad Ranger, Mason Cohen, William Boggs, Tucker McCray, Brady Griffith, Bailey Shadlin, Christian McCauley, Levi Jones, Colby Riggs, Colin Gearing, Wyatt Johnson, Daniel Fitzgerald. And it is the 8-1-3 going to get it done. That is Hunter Carey with a whole shot and an early lead. Row number 11 getting set to roll. Shut them down, open B. Headed into turn number 1. In 10 seconds. Jamison Boyard, Caden Annan, Luke Thurfield, Austin Vinegar, Dylan Bailey, Jacob Blakey, Cortland Taylor, Ben Thomas, Chase James, Derek Stokes, Grant Newell, Jake Connor, Tyler Lester, and a huge hole shot. Man, did he jump it? That's crazy. 7-16. Possibly a rider from the other drop. Here we go, row number 12. Blue flag waves, shut them down. 4-stroke B lights. Got one on the track. Gonna try to get him off, front brake locked up on that machine. Tough start to a race. Here we go, Ricky Dowdstead, here we go. And 10 seconds for your 4-stroke B lights. Maddox Moritz, Brody Boland, Brady Robbins, Owen Mock, Daniel Mora, Alan Gein, Bryson Milligan, Zane Davis, Kai Norris, Will Thurford, I should say, Jay Doyle, Seth Miller, and Sam Klein. The 142 on the machine with a great drive. Possibly the 242 machine of Brody Boland on the helmet. Shut him down. Here we go, 10 seconds for your 150B class. Jagger Eckstein and Dylan Boyer. And this is a 2-rider showdown headed into turn number 1. Who is it gonna be? 2 Indiana boys getting after it. Oh, and he goes down on the Yamaha machine. The gas gonna get it. That is Jagger Eckstein. Row number 14. Your junior B, 25 plus, got one down. Don't worry, buddy. The other Yamaha did the same thing. Junior B, 25 plus, ready to roll. And 10 seconds for Austin Bleska, Judson Boggins, Zachary Agnello, Joe Rossi, Kyle Contest, Matthew McCormick, Doug Hughes, Devin Bodkin, Dylan Fleming, Derek Hall, T. Daniel, Trevor Hubbard, Cameron Hughes, Kevin Campbell, and Michael Hall. Who's it going to be? A group of KTMs bumping bars down the straightaway, but it's the 4-4-6, I do believe. That is Devin Bodkin. Here we go, blue flag waves for our next row. Row number 15, Vet B, 30 plus. In 10 seconds for Neto Santos, Nicholas Mazie, Jason Foltz, Johnny Silva, Michael Leslie, Tristan Berry, Leonardo Ardo, Juan Pacheco, James Achitzer, Mac Oxiteco, Leroy Petrie, Andrew Cook, Michael Moulton, Harley Thyme, and a KTM with a good drive and a hole shot. And here we go. Our final row, shut them down. Senior B, 40 plus, in 10 seconds. Letter Silva, Bennett Phillips, Kevin Jones, Jesse Morin, Jason Corbin, Richard Adams, Philip Solon, Brian Harper, Aldo Nunez, Braz Brown, and Joey Nachi. And it is the 4-5-5 machine of Philip Solon, the P8 native with a hole shot. Way to go, Philip. And with that, my friends, we are off and rolling with 2026. We're going to throw it to a break, and we'll be right back with more action on Racer TV.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call tonight. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to round number one. Get choked up here at 2026
Did you already get some mud in your throat?
Man, I must have, because it is certainly a different story than we had yesterday. You know Mother Nature can't afford to miss a round of GNCC racing. We're slinging mud and having fun here at the VP Racing Fuels Big Buck GNCC. We've got things kicked off. Zach Herron and Johnny Gallagher inside the booth right now, waiting on Jackson Burrow to get back from the start. But as you can see, muddy conditions not stopping our GNCC racers from getting right to it. A lot on the line. Everybody wanting to kick off the 2026 season with the best way possible. Johnny, we're kind of shaking our heads here. We talked about a tale of two tracks yesterday. This is a completely different facility than we even saw yesterday.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not recognizable by yesterday's standards by any means. Obviously, the rain rolling in this morning. Was laying there in the camper, had a nice little cozy sleep going on. And about 6:15, I heard the first couple raindrops and looked out. And I said, maybe it's not going to be too bad. Well, it picked up by about 6:30, and it has not stopped for more than maybe 10 minutes at a time since then. It has been a steady rain all day long. With some heavy rain in between. And here's the conditions. You can see them on screen.
Absolutely. The rider is going to have their work cut out for them for 3 hours of racing. But let's show you how things got off and rolling with our specialized start recap for our XC1 and XC2 classes. A lot of hype coming into the season. Obviously, Ben Kelly, your reigning champ. The kid, Grant Davis, making the debut in the XC1 class. We saw him on row one at the final round of the season, but now it's official, and he's kicking off the year in style. Let's see. As the flag dropped, couple of riders having some troubles, but look at the jump from the Ampro Yamaha of Liam Draper, a rider we've been waiting to get that good start and see what he's able to do with it. It's Draper. Then we see DeLong now on that Phoenix Racing Honda machine close the door and steal that number 2 spot away from Grant Davis. Johnny Gerard, a decent start, as well as Craig DeLong. Ben Kelly, last in the woods for your XC1 field. Then we drop to the XC2 field. Around the inside, it's that Liqui Moly factory beta of Jack Walker, who continued to stack blocks last season. Think he might be a little bit of an underdog in this XC2 class. JoJo Cunningham now in the XC2 class as well. Slicing underneath, it was a drag race headed into the woods. Gus Reardon, Jason Tino, some big names back with us in that class as well, Johnny. And a lot of them up front early, but also a couple of the favorites at the rear of the field headed into the woods. Now, we talked about it all day long. A bit of balance between risk versus reward, patience versus urgency here. And as we take a look at your Yamaha Racing track map, they've got still a bit of variety, some more open sections, some tighter sections, but as the rain continues to fall, gotta wonder how much of a difference. It's pretty much wet everywhere now.
Well, you know, we certainly appreciate Yamaha Racing for doing this track map, but I can tell you right now, it's a loose representation of the track they're racing out there. After the races yesterday, track was in great condition, but obviously this morning already this was on Friday when the conditions were, it looks like might have been some laps turned on it, but it was probably on Friday. And, track was in perfect condition. Doesn't look anything like this right now. But what I will say, GNCC track crew, we obviously got a little bit of a late start here getting underway. I don't know why my watch won't tell me what time it is, but about an hour late today, or just under an hour, about 50 minutes late. And here we are sitting with a adapted racetrack for the conditions. After the morning race, both morning races, they had to make some changes just to make this track passable, to keep the flow of traffic, to keep the riders moving. They didn't make an easy track, but they took out some of the stuff that was absolutely just impassable.
As we take a look, there's some of your leaders on screen. Looks like Ashburn, Draper, Davis, mainly Caleb Russell making some moves. There's Craig DeLong.
Yep. Johnny Gerard.
There's Wachowski.
Thad Duvall.
And what I'm seeing is a freight train here. Whoa, hang on to it now.
Cody Barnes already with the roll-off film streaming behind him there. We did see there is Ben Kelly. He's made at least one pass already. He's gotten around Stu Baylor. Oh, there's a rider down there. Couldn't tell who that was, but here we go. Glimpse. So there we go. Ashburn,
still looking clean.
Draper, Davis, Russell, DeLong. Oh, Gerard with the whoa moment there, and that shows you just how slick it is. Then you got Wachowski. There's Thad Duvall, still keeping that machine a little cleaner there. Josh Strang, Cody Barnes, Stu Baylor making some passes there. Got a back around Ben Kelly. That was actually Grant. Then there's Stu Baylor, and there is Josh Toth on that 206 machine. So not sure who that rider was down. We'll see here in a minute as he works his way by.
That was Strang, so maybe that was Barnes up earlier on the beta, jumping up to that XC1 class. And once again, catching your leaders as they're making their way through. Jordan Ashburn not pulling away, but it's such an advantage to be able to keep the bike clean, keep the goggles as clean as possible. And right now, not a ton of separation. Already seeing some steam roll off of these machines as well, Johnny. And we were able to catch up with your leader, Jordan Ashburn, now making the jump over to that Phoenix Racing Honda crew. The first race of the season, always a ton of fun, not just for the tied on points factor, but a lot of teams switching riders switching teams, switching brands around, and we were able to catch up with your current leader in the XC1 Pro class, Jordan Ashburn, about his switch to Phoenix Racing Honda.
Yeah, big buck this year. You know, last year was really rough on the property, and you can still see a lot of that from last year, the leftovers, and it's really dry today, so it'll be interesting to see how much rain comes tomorrow and how fast it falls. I think will determine on the track conditions, but I think a lot of the water will pond up and sit. But I'm kind of curious, honestly. I think we're going to have more of a harder packed, wet, muddy race. So not as much of the sticky, sloppy, heavy, ruddy stuff, but just more skatey and wet, a lot of water. So, but we'll see. It may be perfect. I don't know.
As always, Jordan Ashburn up for whatever's thrown his way. But he makes a good point. GNCC, we're so accustomed to the rainy weather. We've actually got different classifications of mud. We've got that concrete, thick, sticky mud that weighs the bike and the rider down. And then this is almost a slimy, paint-like kind of mud. Johnny, we talked about the rain. It's been consistent, sometimes a little heavier than other, but it hasn't stopped, which means things have stayed very liquidy. You can still see what the number plates look like. It's dripping off of the riders. Maybe not as good for the roll-off systems, the goggles, the gloves, stuff like that, getting wet. But as far as thick and slimy, maybe a little bit of a benefit for the riders out on course right now.
You know, it's one of those things where it's kind of, you can pick your poison, right? When it's still raining, like you said, it makes it really hard on goggles, really hard on grips. It's going to be hard on brake pads. These riders are really going to have to be careful with the lines they're picking, not to ingest water into their intakes. That'll obviously drown out the engine, potentially damage the engine or the machine to the point where it can no longer continue. But they won't be having that weight of the heavy mud on them. There's some good to it, too. It doesn't pack up the radiators as much. When it's heavy mud like that, it sticks to the front of the radiator louvers. The bikes don't cool down. We see a lot of overheating. A lot of that steam we're seeing, it's not so much that the bikes are overheating, it's just everything's touching water and it's evaporating, obviously, that water causing the steam. We definitely will see some overheating today, but not quite as bad as what we would see if it stopped raining, which at this point, if you ask the riders, I think they'd say, I hope it just keeps raining.
Well, and we did. We've talked to a couple of riders throughout the day today, obviously spotting. We see a lot of our top pros scoping things out throughout the morning. We had two morning AM races today with amateur big bikes, so getting a good idea as to how things were going to shake out. But just like you said, Johnny, a lot of preparation goes into these kinds of conditions, and this is when the team, the family aspect of GNCC comes into play. It's just as much about the preparation before the flag as it is in how you handle the race. I know you come from the ATV side, but we see so many different things. Brillo pads on the handlebars. We see maybe some extra wire on the grips. We see a lot of rags in the pants, maybe even some rags on the grips of the handlebars themselves.
A lot of extended handguards, like you see there right on screen. People use duct tape.
Foam all over the place.
Some of the riders, I know the Baylor brothers both have the big they call them elephant ears. You know, they just meant to keep more stuff off your hands. Another thing today, temp's not ideal. Little on the chilly side. Once you get wet, easy to get cold. You want to try and keep those hands as dry and as much wind off of them as you can. But it's, I'm going to be honest with you, you're just kind of mitigating at this point. You're not going to stay dry. You're not going to stay warm. You got to just man up or woman up and get it done. And that's what these riders are doing out there right now.
Well, and it's a saying I've heard growing up. There's two people out there. Some people play in the rain. Some people just get wet. And at this point, you can't avoid it. You might as well embrace it. And it's GNCC racing. At this point, a lot of these riders, plenty of experience. Some riders, I thought they were just dancing to DJ Judd last night. They might have been doing a rain dance because some actually prefer these kinds of conditions as we're hanging out here at the 7-mile marker. And I think another thing going to be interesting, didn't have a ton of lap traffic issues yesterday, but in these kinds of conditions, things can go crazy in a hurry. So we'll see whether or not that plays into our leaders as well.
You know, Zach, I'd like to add to that. You said some of these riders actually prefer these conditions. Me personally, I was always known as a mud specialist. I love to talk about myself, so let's do it for a minute.
Okay, let's do it.
It wasn't that I particularly liked the mud. It wasn't like I looked forward to riding it. It's hard to hold on. It's hard on equipment. You're cold. You're wet. It's very challenging. It's very mentally demanding to ride in the mud. Sometimes can be a little less physically demanding. So, you know, the riders that maybe not quite having the fitness to go the full distance of the race. It helps them out a bit. But the biggest thing for me is I learned when I was young, and my dad told me, mud races are all about your attitude. If you come in and you're dreading it and you're saying, oh, no, it's muddy, I don't want to do this, you're going to get a poor result. If you just look into it and say, hey, man, everybody's got to ride this same track. Let's go out there. Let's dance in it. You know, let's have some fun and smile. You're going to come out with a better result. So attitude and approach to the race, saying, hey, this is what we got, then we're going to make the most of it. It just gives you some good vibes coming into the day.
Well, one of the riders that's looking to start 2026 out strong is the Ampro Yamaha of Liam Draper. We saw him grab that whole shot last we saw, now funneled into that number 2 ride, but we were able to catch up with the 198 and get his thoughts on the Big Buck GNCC.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some pretty bad races here at Big Buck. Last year was an absolute disaster with the rain, and I actually didn't finish, so that was tough to put myself at a deficit at round 1, but I've had some good races here in XC2, so hopefully this rain holds off. Yeah, last year was first full year on the XC1, first full year on a 450, so it was good. We had some tough races and some good races, but I still haven't got my first overall win, and I've come damn close a few times now. So yeah, 2026 that's the biggest goal, is to get my first overall win, really.
So hearing from the 198 there as we watch the freight train of XC1 riders and XC2 have now caught up to the back of the field as well. This is a story we had many a times last season. But one thing for sure, I saw it looked like Thad Duvall had made a couple of quick passes early. Looked like Johnny G who picked up a spot or two as well. I saw Grant Davis already got the goggles off as well. And looks like that might be Lipscomb right there making his way through. But as we've come to kind of grow accustomed to, our XC2 class have locked into the back end of the XC1 field, and they've pretty much got the whole class right in front of them.
Well, and you can tell by the way Jordan Ashburn's riding up front. I mean, nobody's really trying to pass him. They're just trying to figure the track out at this point. There's a lot of standing water. The reports back from the morning races, a lot of riders, you know, although the machine's finished, they went ahead and pulled those air filters, take a look at it. They get some reconnaissance, get some information back to their teammates that are running the PM race, and they'll say, hey, how is it out there? Let's take a look at the bike. They start pulling those air filters. Where it is, intake's absolutely full of mud and water. So the word back to these XC1 and XC2 guys and guys that are racing this afternoon race was take care of the machine. Don't charge the water puddles. We're going to have enough problems with water getting into the machine as it is. Don't do anything to make that worse. And I think that's why we're seeing kind of that stand-up flowy riding style right now. And the conditions obviously are slick as well, so they're just trying to feel out the grip. But the biggest thing, that's going to allow, not that those XC2 riders aren't ripping, but they're a little bit younger, maybe a little less worried about those machines. They're charging up. They see those XC1 guys in front of them. They see an opportunity, and the XC1 guys see, hey, we got a lot of time left in this race. Let's make sure we don't leave round 1 with no points.
So there we see some of our A riders making their way through the 717. Leading the way, looks like that might be Chase Landers on the Phoenix Honda as well, just behind him. So the field's starting to spread out a bit further back as they've got quite a gap behind them. But yeah, to your point, you know, those kids, they don't like, they got to learn patience, right? And so, but it will be interesting to see a 3-hour-long race in store, and survival, not just the name of the game for the rider, but the machines as well. We see talking about some of that preparation, taping up some of the air box, limiting the amount of air that can get in, because if air can get in, water can get in as well. So a lot of different tricks of the trade as we see a lot of different riders and different teams taking some unique approaches to that. Everybody just trying to set those machines up best they can for this, but at the end of the day, I don't think you can waterproof the bike, you know, so you're just going to have to hope for the best. We'll see some of those deeper water sections, the riders trying to check up. But, yeah, patience is going to be a big focal point throughout the next 3 hours.
The biggest thing that I've always told these guys, whether it's 2 wheels or 4, you know, once you do all that prep, you put the foam in, you tape everything up. Like you said, you're kind of limiting the airflow. And if you listen down the starting line, you can tell a lot of those bikes sounded like they were running pretty rich, almost blubbering. And a lot of that is the fact that those bikes are accustomed to being able to get all kinds of air to mix with the fuel. Right now, they're so choked down because of everything being taped up. But you can tell the rider, hey, we've waterproofed this thing, but at the same time, it's up to the rider to pick the good lines, to carry the speed where they can, but take care of the bike where they know there's a lot of water and mud that's going to be getting into the machine. So the most well-waterproof bike in the world, if you ride it into a water hole, it's not waterproof, it's just water resistant. It is ultimately definitely up to the riders to take care of those machines here throughout the entirety of this race today.
So seeing a couple of riders on those Racecraft Husqvarnas doing well. We saw Thad Duvall picking up a couple of spots. JoJo Cunningham now jumping up to the XC2 class. Looked like he was trying to make some quick moves. It looks like that's one of the Whitmer boys moving through.
Speaking of the Whitmer boys, I know we saw Landers and a few of the amateur riders coming through. One of the Whitmer brothers was way ahead of them, and I do believe he's probably our top amateur right now.
That would be Lane. He's very good in the mud. Now we see, looks like Grant Davis made some moves, but it's still Jordan Ashburn out front. Clear vision. You can see Grant Davis, no goggles, opting to just bypass the pit, saying, not worried about it. Looks like Liam dropped back a bit, but he's going to stop and get some fresh goggles. There's Johnny Gerard. We may have. There we see Ryder Lafferty. There's Caleb Russell. Thad Duvall into the pits for some clear vision. Here comes one of the, that might be Nick DeFeo. It is the rider that won this overall here last year. Not only on corrected time, but physically from that XC2 class, already well up into the top positions in our overall. He's in the mix. You can see, looked like he was ahead of both of his Red Bear Rocky Mountain ATV MC teammates. There is Cooper Jones. So that is another one of those A riders coming through there. So we've got a bunch of A guys already that have caught up to XC1 and XC2. Man, it's going to be interesting when we finally get some transponders to ring in at scoring here. We might have an amateur in the overall.
Man, and we saw how chaotic those pit stops get in conditions like this. We got pressure washers flying. Nick DeFeo, that stop almost reminded me of Danielle McDonald's stop earlier, Jackson. We saw she tried to pull over, grab some fresh goggles, got him on the helmet, and then whoop, they slipped right off, went right into the mud. So costly, not only in time, but wanted that clean vision, ended up throwing the goggles on nonetheless, but got to think they're nowhere near as clean as they would have been. So DeFeo, yeah, like you said, last year, not only grabbing the win on the overall timing, but physically beating the entire field as well. So these kinds of conditions, like Johnny said, could pop up and provide us with an A rider in the top overalls. But DeFeo, he looked fired up as well. You could see the intensity right there in that pit stop. And just to Johnny's point, some of those younger guys, really the sense of urgency still there even in the opening few minutes of the races. Now we catch that Phoenix Racing Honda of Jordan Ashburn out front still with Grant Davis. Whoa, look at how deep the water is in that section.
Grant Davis taking note of that one, no doubt about it, and trying not to do the exact same thing.
Well, and Johnny, you can touch on this. Conditions like this, the would you rather lead versus would you rather follow? If you're Grant Davis in this moment, he does have a little bit of an advantage watching where Ashburn's going. He saw immediately how far that Honda dropped down. He said, whoa, let me slow down just a little bit.
You know, Zach, to your point there, it really is a flip of a coin. If you're out front, you got clear vision. Grant Davis, you can see no goggles on there. He can't get too close to Jordan Ashburn without risking getting roosted in those eyes. But at the same time, if you're Jordan Ashburn out front, you got to pick all the right lines, because if you pick the bad one, everybody else gets to see. Here's the way I look at it. You can't possibly get stuck in a line that somebody's already stuck in.
That's
so
true.
If he puts himself into a bad position, it just makes it that much easier for them, those guys behind him, to figure out which line they want to choose.
Johnny dropping some knowledge on us as our Race TV camera tries to pull a tear off here. Everybody dealing with the weather conditions out here, and won't be long before we expect to see more of that XC2 field, and won't be long. It's going to be really hard to decipher who we're looking at out here, Jackson.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And speaking of the XC2, you talked about the intensity that Nick DeFeo had in that pit stop, but it's not just Nick DeFeo, it's the entire Rocky Mountain Red Bear Kawasaki team. They know what's on the line here, Zach. They have not forgot what happened last year, where we saw the XC2 on the top 3 overall, and take a look at that, everybody.
Wow.
Cooper Jones, your top overall amateur right now, no doubt about that. He is leading the overall charts ahead of your XC1 and XC2 classes.
How about that? Super Cooper Jones on the 2.20 leads the way. JoJo Cunningham in his XC2 debut leads the class and sits second overall. Gus Reardon in the number 3 ride. T-Rex Nick DeFeo in 4. Jason Tino back with us in 26 on that factory KTM 250. In the 5 spot, Jack Walker, your early hole shot from the XC2, sits in the 6th spot. Then another A rider of Lane Whitmer in the 7th ride. Brody Johnson, Jay Lipscomb, your top 9. Then we start to see that opening pro row. Your XC1 field starts in the 10th place spot. Jordan Ashburn, Davis, DeLong, Wachowski, Gerard, Lafferty. I mean, they're all right there as well, Jackson. We saw wheel to wheel, and Johnny, you called it. We got an A rider leading the way on overall timing.
Yeah, when I saw that 220 and Cooper Jones coming through the pro pits there, he was already up into the tail end of XC1, and knowing that he had a full 2-minute advantage, it was just pretty obvious. But at the same time, there's still a lot of racing left here. You can see the lap times. Look at that, 28.55. So he was, what, 29 or no.
Yes, see. You're right,
yeah,
29.
29 seconds faster than JoJo Cunningham. I mean, that is a pretty significant amount of time there.
Wow.
I don't think that's all just mindset. He's got something figured out. Riding style, I don't know what it is. And there's different ways to approach this stuff too. We see some of the taller riders in stature. They pop the skis out. They're able to keep things upright. But there's a lot of different ways to find success in the slick conditions.
I really do feel like a lot of it has to do with what we've been saying about just throwing caution to the wind when you're one of those A guys, where these guys are a little more conserved in these conditions. They can see what the rider's doing ahead of them and throw caution to the wind.
Well, there's also another thing, and it may seem silly, but each motorcycle that goes through here splashes a little bit of water out.
True.
So they're getting down to better dirt. So after you've had 20, 30, 40 motorcycles go through, those ruts that are full of water and you can't even see, or even a corner that's full of water, the guys a little further back, they've got clear vision. There you can see JoJo Cunningham. There is Grant Baylor. Looks like there is... Yeah. And there is Cooper Jones right there.
There was Jones.
So he's physically with them.
Tino.
Yeah. Man, Cooper Jones riding very well. Keep an eye on him. Keep an eye on JoJo Cunningham. We know he does well in the mud, sitting there in that number 2 spot overall and leading that XC2. Lane Whitmer has had some great rides in muddy conditions. There we see Jay Lipsman on screen. So many of these riders, no goggles. It's good because they don't want to stop. They don't want to, take the extra time. They know they're just going to kind of ruin them in a couple miles anyway. But if you go the whole race without goggles, especially if you're in a battle, you end up getting so much stuff in your eyes. By the end of the race, it kind of looks like you're trying to look through a screen door. You just can't quite see clearly. Got to take care of those eyes, too.
Notice the 342 Factory Husky of Craig DeLong's picked up a couple of spots, sitting 3rd in class, and looked like he was right on the rear wheel of Grant Davis. I'll never forget right when we joined GNCC back when we were going to Georgia, the absolute, probably muddiest conditions I've ever seen. DeLong grabbed a win there. So looking to start 2026 off strong, and we've been so focused on the weather. We do still have the hype of round 1, Johnny. Everybody tied on points. Everybody still believing that this could be their year. There you see DeLong on screen just in front of Wachowski and Draper.
Yep.
But a lot of hype coming into this. There we see Thad Duvall. Everybody, trying to start things out strong here at Big
Barnes. JoJo Cunningham revving that machine. One of the Baylor boys. There's Nick DeFeo. Looks like that might have been Gus Reardon. There is Cooper Jones. And that was Jason Tino. And then that may have been Jack Walker or Josh Strang that just came through. That was one of the factory Liqui Beta machines there.
I started to say this would be a race for time, but I'm glad I didn't, because Cooper Jones would have made me eat my words. He is starting to really work his way up into the thick of it now.
Well, and we know Cooper Jones well enough to know he's put in the work, and he's got the speed and fitness to be able to go the distance. So it's curious to see, very similar to kind of how we saw Grant Davis approach the season last year, get in the mix with him, get comfortable with that pace, and then as the faster, or I should say more experienced riders at the front start to pick things up, then you can just kind of match that pace. So Jones, he's in a good spot right now. I'm sure he's getting told where he's at as far as the overall timing goes. Now it's just, can you maintain this pace and intensity for the next 2 hours and 40 or so minutes?
Well, we talk about first. Last year here was the first time that we had seen an XC2 rider break through and physically win an overall, and actually the first time we had seen a rider win an overall at all out of that class, and to do it physically, heck of a way to do it. But Cooper Jones, I know it's early, but could today be the first time that we see an A rider on an overall podium or potentially taking a win? If he's able to keep the pace like you pointed, I mean, he's got a whole bunch of pace cars there. He can see the leaders up there. If he's able to keep in touch with them all day today, it could be a historic day for GNCC Racing.
We know it's possible. There's no doubt about it. After what we saw here last year, it's definitely possible.
Got some more riders working their way through here, and there is Chase Landers. That is another of our 258 riders. Switch over to that Phoenix Racing Honda team after formerly riding for that Landers Racing KTM team. Big switch for him. Also, hometown boy Jordan Ashburn, we already talked about, going over to that Phoenix Racing Honda team, and Chase Landers going with him. So seeing those guys on red is a little bit different, but they're both running well right now. Chase Landers sitting back there in that 15th spot overall, and looks like he is 3rd place in that 258 class. Jordan Ashburn leading the way in XC1.
Not only was this where we saw XC2 get that overall win, this is also the first time we saw XC2 all 3 steps of the podium here last year. One of those people was Gus Reardon, and I believe we got to catch up with Gus.
Gus on that Phoenix Racing Honda now, jumping over, and I think Gus maybe a restart, a refreshing start, new color in front of him, new crew around him. I think that might be exactly what he needs. We kind of started to see the frustration with Gus over the last 2 years building a little bit. I don't know whether it's so much the team, his own performance, but I think a nice refresh. We hear so many riders talk about that, whether it was planned or not. Hey, just a change in scenery a little bit, change in setting might just be the thing to get the juices flowing like you wanted again. We know Gus has got what it takes to grab that overall and grab that XC2 title as well, but just has come up short a couple of years in a row now.
Yeah, and Gus, I had an opportunity to speak with him about 2 weeks ago. He stopped over to the Ranch Russell, called Caleb, asked him to do some riding. Some of the guys were coming to do a photo shoot, and I asked him, I said, how you like the machine, how you like the team? He said it was a big change for him, you know, he came over here to the States as a KTM rider, rode for that RPM KTM team for several years, then ended up on that Landers Racing KTM team. We saw him there the last couple of years. So he's always ridden those orange machines. He said it was a change, but he said he really likes the bike. He feels like, you know, he can just kind of get really to be one with that machine, and it's working for him. He's obviously running up front, near the front anyway, second position in that XC2 class, and he knows it's a long race. He's got a little bit of experience on some of these other guys in that XC2 class, you know, and he's already been on the overall podiums, ending up actually 5th place overall for the year last year, and that was crazy. We talked about that in the show opener. 3 XC2 riders, you know, Jackson, you pointed out, they swept the podium here last year. Cody Barnes, obviously Nick DeFeo,
Josh Toth,
and then Reardon. But that class itself ended up occupying 3 of the top 5 overall spots at the end of the year, with Grant Davis in the number 2 spot, Cody Barnes in the number 3 spot, and then Gus Reardon in the number 5 spot.
And looked like we might have had a new leader there. Looks like Grant Davis actually had made the pass happen, and I was just taking a look at our results from last year. I think that 258 class isn't too far out of sight. Jojo Cunningham out of the 258 class got 5th overall last year, so certainly something possible.
And at Talladega in another mud race, he was running inside the top 10. I think he was 6th or 7th. Ended up exploding a clutch basket. I don't think I've ever heard of that, but if you've ever heard Jojo ride, he likes to run it up about 33,000 RPMs and just let that thing eat. So it did not make it to the finish, but he definitely has the speed and the skill in these conditions.
Man, I still saw Ben Kelly, it looked like, back there at the tail end of the group, taking his time to get moving forward. We know Kelly definitely got that maturity. We're not just in the riding style, but in the headspace as well. You talk about how mentally demanding these kinds of rides can be, and Kelly, not the kind of guy to get caught up in the hype. He knows it's a long season. He's gotten 2 number 1s for a reason. So we'll see whether or not Kelly's going to get the steam rolling as this race continues. There we see Jay Lipscomb on screen out of your XC2 class.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think we're going to see some big things here. I'm going to go ahead and name it the Big Bug Bonk.
There it is.
After what we saw last year and what we're seeing here this year, I mean, almost the exact same scenario that we were in just a year ago.
Well, we were touching on the number 6 of Gus Reardon, moving over to that Phoenix Racing Honda crew, and I believe we were able to catch a word with the number 6 about his change in scenery.
Yeah, my off-season was good. I went home to Australia for Christmas and then came back here just before the new year and then went straight down to Florida and sort of been down there since. Yeah, my off-season was good. I went home to Australia for Christmas and then came back here just before the new year and then went straight down to Florida and sort of been down there since. In Claremont, trained with Zach Osborne and Liam Draper, so it's been good. And Cooper Jones. It was great. Zacho's he's a super funny guy, and then we've had a good group with Liam and Coop. So going to the track each day is just a laugh. It's good fun, and training's definitely been fun, and Zach definitely knows what he's doing. Yeah, so XC2, I really want to get that championship, and then hopefully I'd like to move up and race with the big boys. Honda's an unreal bike, 250. It's a super strong bike, and definitely the championship is the one and only goal. And I need to do it. I don't want it. I need it.
So there it is from Angus Reardon himself. And he's mentioned that Honda machine that he had there. One thing that's for sure, Johnny, Phoenix Racing is very proud to have him under the tent, and they have full faith that he's going to be able to do it in the XC2 class.
Yeah, I mean, big changes over there. Obviously, Cody Barnes leaving, heading over to that factory beta team. You've got Jordan Ashburn coming in. You've got Chase Landers coming in. So some big changes. Mike Wachowski sticking around, obviously having a very strong closeout to the season. Jordan Ashburn has now dropped back several spots, and we've actually got, looks like Thad Duvall making some moves as well. Got, and some more of the Cowie boys coming through. Lapped riders over there. There's Cooper Jones, so he's very much in the mix. He is still there ahead of Tino and now ahead of Ben Kelly as well.
That is a sight to see, Johnny. So much steam coming off those machines, starting to get hard to see through the tree line.
And we see those flashes going off, meaning, somebody's in there getting some photos to document this historic conditions. Oh, look at this. Oh, that was that lap rider we saw coming up the left line on camera, right line on the track. And, man, that shows you these guys making it look easy, but But I assure you, if somebody like me jumped on a dirt bike and went out there and tried to make it around, I'd be doggy paddling my way around the track. I wouldn't be feet on the pegs like our top riders.
Well, and we touched on the lap traffic that we had at our event yesterday, drier conditions, so the distance or the difference between our top riders versus further back in the pack, nowhere near as big as what we're going to see here today. Just like you said, Johnny, these guys make it seem like it's not even muddy out there. Meanwhile, other riders, they're just hoping and praying to make it to the finish line. We heard it all day long. People yelling at Ricky Towery for not throwing that checker flag out. What do you mean I've got 2 more laps? And so definitely curious to see how things stack up, and if we start to get bottlenecks as well, Jackson, that could force our riders to have to switch some lines up. We heard our trail bosses say the main line really not too terrible. I'm not going to say it's great, but it's not terrible. But when you start going off and exploring, that's when you can get yourself in trouble really quickly.
Yeah, but I've been hearing some mixed emotions on it from some of our sweep riders. Got to talk to our trail boss, Jared Bolton, a good bit, and says it's not too bad. I'm sure y'all have talked about it a little bit in the show already, but the main thing that even our track crew is saying is as long as it keeps raining, we want it to keep raining at this point. Once it stops raining, that is when we're really going to see it thicken up and get a whole lot different, as we see Landers making his way by right now on that Phoenix ride.
One thing I noticed here at that 6-mile mark shot, obviously when you run down this running order here in the top 20, we don't see Josh Toth in there. He was a ways back when he came through here, well behind several of the A riders, but Josh Toth, the rider that has done not only well here last year in the mud, but did win a few years ago from that XC2 class, was actually the first rider, I misspoke earlier, the first rider to ever do that and win back in, what would that have been, 2023?
Yep,
2024.
Yep.
Several years ago now, it's 2026, that's crazy, but nonetheless, he was the first rider to get that done out of that XC2 class back when he was riding on that Enduro Engineering Honda, and he's a rider that performs very well in these conditions, but we also do know feedback after the National Enduro, definitely he did not have the results he was wanting last weekend, and the word was just a lot of pain in that leg. He was just kind of trying to get through the day. He says he's getting stronger all the time, but conditions like this would be very, very tough when you're especially nursing an injured leg like that. So there we see Ashburn into that number 2 spot. Grant Davis out front. There's Johnny Gerard in 3rd. Then Craig DeLong sitting in the number 4 spot physically. There is...
Looked like Russell, and then one of the Baylor boys, might have been Grant.
Hard to tell. They're both running those elephant ears.
There is Lafferty.
Yep.
There's Draper. And Wachowski. So throwing some roost on the Racer TV camera. Feel like you're here at home.
There's Thad Duvall. Cody Barnes.
That looked like that might have been Wachowski, so maybe Gus had made some moves, not sure.
It's possible. The 6 and the 8 look pretty, well, one's going to be green, one's going to be red, but we know I won't be able to differentiate between those two.
We did learn that, yes. One more of the Beta crew making their way through.
Probably Jack Walker there. Or could have been Josh Strang, because one of them had already come through a little further up.
So watching and waiting here at the 7-mile marker, still relatively close proximity for most all of your XC1 class and a good chunk of the XC2 boys as well. And kind of hard to tell with those white backgrounds, but Jackson, looked like we might have had at least one of our A riders up in that mix as well. Cooper Jones, your current leader on adjusted time.
I believe so. I believe one of those Husqvarnas actually might have been one of our XC2 or Open A classes. So when we get another camera shot, we'll sort it out, no doubt.
Well, we know JoJo Cunningham was up there as well. He was leading the way in that XC2 class. And hard to pick out the numbers, but we'll get it sorted out. A lot of riders on new machines, new gear. It's a little hard to... There we see Josh Toth now coming through. Got a little mud on our camera, making it a little bit more difficult. But, hey, this is just what these riders are seeing, so we're struggling through it just like they are.
Absolutely. And you talked about Toth coming back from injury. We bring so much of a hype to round one. Riders talking about wanting to start things off strong and make an impressive performance. That's if you're at 100%. If you're capable, if you're comfortable, both man and machine, there's a lot of riders that we've seen coming to round one knowing, hey, I've got my work cut out for me. I'm not quite where I need to be, but I just need to get through this. I need to try to stay healthy. I need to maybe get some points on the board, get some momentum rolling, and almost race into shape, as they like to say. Once again, seeing the 254 Chase Landers on that Phoenix Racing Honda, 15th overall at the moment. But that's a tough ask out there, Jackson. You know, everybody's so excited for round one normally, and there's something to be said about rolling to the line knowing, hey, I can't give everything that I want to give, but I'm going to give as much as I can here to start the year off.
Yeah, Zach, that takes a lot of racecraft. That takes a lot of heads up thinking, no doubt about it. Saw Landers making his way by there on the 254 Honda machine, and he is in no man's land. He is completely working off that clock. The last time he checked in that 15th overall position, so we'll see if he can keep pushing it. One thing to note for everybody watching on Racer TV, I can audibly hear the rain picking up here in the Racer TV trailer, so it's definitely not stopping now. That is for sure. I believe the whole state of South Carolina is getting rain as we speak. And while we wait for our pros to come around, I do believe that we were able to catch up with some more of our riders.
I'm pumped on going up to the front row, and I don't need to push so hard first lap to try to get with them guys, and I can just ride my own race. And I was definitely a little bummed, but maybe it just wasn't meant to be last year, and stuff happens. It's racing, you always get hurt, but I'm definitely looking forward to this year and stay injury-free and hopefully have a good year, and hopefully I can bring it home. Looks way better with the red plate instead of the green plates. I think it looks way better. And then picked number 2 this year because I figured, I mean, RV he won pretty much everything with number 2, so I'm like, I think it'd be cool to switch my number up a little bit. I've always ran 922, so run number 2 is pretty cool, and I'm pumped to start with them guys actually, and then I don't need to hear at the end when they say, oh, I got a minute advantage at the end of the race, so I don't need to hear that anymore, so that'd be pretty fun. I want to win, and I definitely got a chip on my shoulder from last year what happened, and I've been training as hard as I can. I mean, I've been doing everything I can with mindset with Denise and doing all the motos that Steve tells me. Before I'd be a little bit weak for sure, like maybe just something happens in a moto in practice, like I'd be like, oh, well, whatever, it's just practice. But this year I've been trying as hard as I can, going as fast as I can for racing, and just, I mean, when you ride at 100% in practice and you come to the race and say you need to ride at 90%, it makes it a lot easier. So, I mean, my mindset is probably 100 times better this year than it's ever been. To cross the finish line first, it's definitely like a sigh of relief, I'd say, like to cross the finish line first and just to prove everyone that it's not the time advantage that like the XC2 boys need. I've had a really good off season and been training really good with Stephen and Denise Hatch, and Ross, the gym trainer from Culvermex, has been sending me all my stuff, so I've been pumped on that, and I've been way faster on a 350 than a 250, I know that, so I'm really pumped on it. Got my bike working really good, and I'm excited. I mean, I've been looking forward to race with these guys my whole life, and I mean, it's hard, honestly. I mean, stuff happens, and you think like, oh man, maybe I'll never make it there, but I mean, now I'm here, and it's been my favorite off season so far because I've actually been to ride like a new bike. I mean, it's still a KTM, but it's still like 350. It gives you more of like a boost of energy, I'd say, to get on like a different bike and have some more fun on it for sure.
Ooh, a lot of things to be concerned about if you're the rest of the XC1 field here in that interview, including I'm a lot faster on the 350. But honestly, I think the biggest thing that stands out to me is the mindset. You talked about mentally being drained, not only in these muddy conditions, but that was kind of maybe the kryptonite for Grant Davis. Ultimately, there's a room for argument whether a mental mistake could have caused some of the crashes that left him, wanting that overall championship. But nonetheless, if he's been able to work on it, get it dialed in, man, it's going to be a dangerous Grant Davis. And to prove it, he's out front leading the way.
Yep, and he also said in that interview there, he said, hey, I don't want to hear any more about this minute advantage. It's gone now. Nobody needs to worry about it. And that just shows you, he's already thinking, which we knew, I'm winning these races, and I don't want to hear about it anymore. Whether or not it was a factor, well, we know the waters and mud's a factor for this young man right here. He's trying to get those. He's got a paper towel that was ripped around his grips. Now he's using it to clean his gloves to try to pick that machine up.
Bounty, the quicker picker up. Picking up that machine.
Have we heard definitively what the plan is for the length of the race? Are we planning on going the full 3 hours? Or?
Have not heard at the moment. We're rocking and rolling.
Waving to the cameras there as he gets took back off.
Oh, yeah. Did you guys get, oh man, well, they might as well embrace it. You go down, waving to the fans back at home. But yeah, last we heard, the plan is a full 3-hour race. And got to think, kind of like we talked about, Jackson, the rain has continued. And I mean, we're still able to read number plates. These riders are making their way around. It's so funny how different things can be. You'd want to think, more rain is more worse, and it's not in some of these conditions. The standing water, something that these riders are able to make their way through. So last we heard from Race Control, the plan is a full 3-hour race in the conditions.
Yeah, and I mean, I like it. I mean, the track seems to be holding up. A lot of water, but it does seem to be holding up well. We don't see last year, we saw doggy paddling. We saw the ruts up to the radiator shrouds. I mean, it was bad. This year, obviously completely different coming in. Although, yes, it is wet. It rained, started raining this morning. Definitely wetter on race day, but the difference is the ground was so hard when we got here. Well, I pulled in here Wednesday, but we were starting to set up things on Thursday, and I told some of the guys I went through 2 DeWalt batteries trying to get the stakes into the ground. Here we see Jordan Ashburn. Looks like now he has gotten back around the number 2 of Grant Davis. Still no goggles for Davis. Johnny Gerard in the number 3 spot. Craig DeLong sitting in 4th. Stu Baylor's made some moves now, up to 5th. Then it's Ryder Lafferty on that 336 machine. Liam Draper just behind him. So it looks like the rider losing out in that section of racetrack was Caleb Russell. Looks like he lost some spots and some time as well here at the 11-mile mark.
Yeah, and big shout out to Ryder Lafferty. Kind of been flying under the radar so far this race, but been up there in the mix as well. Might have been one of those Phoenixes what we thought we saw earlier was the red fender, but yeah, Lafferty been in the mix pretty much since the drop. Is there? That might have been Cunningham that just went through, and then there is Nick DeFeo. That's one we're going to be watching. Your physical and overall winner from round 1. Now Ben Kelly starting to pick up a little bit of pace as well. Looks like there is Gus Reardon just behind him. Another one of the KTM
Jason
boys.
Tino, Cody Barnes, Caleb Russell, Cooper Jones.
Wow.
So Jones still probably within that time window he needs. There's Jack Walker. There is Thad Duvall. So it still seems to be about the same guys up front. They've shaken up the order, and the gaps have opened up a little bit. But I think we're still going to see it will most likely still be Cooper Jones in that overall lead if he's able to continue that pace to the finish line.
Mike Kwiatkowski up there as well. He is still in the fight in this one. And guys, one thing I would like to say, and I mean this in all seriousness, Stu Baylor is looking super thin out there. I've been having a hard time even noticing when he came by. He is definitely, I guess, working on his fitness. I'm not sure, but no doubt he's looking light to me.
I heard he's working on that modeling career, so
maybe Jay Lipscomb coming through.
Well, and it's funny, this is something that we've actually seen Stu Baylor talk about before. I want to say it was round 1 either a year or 2 years ago. It was significantly lighter than we had seen before. Everybody talking about the fitness, the jawline was chiseled out. And I felt like towards the mid part of the year, he openly said, I've put on a little more weight. I feel like it helps me more as far as my energy throughout the duration of the race. So it is interesting, kind of 2 ways you can look at something. But yeah, to your point, I saw him walking around. Honestly, you talk about that whole Rocky Mountain Red Bear Kawasaki team. They were bumping some music, trying to give DJ Judd a run for his money before everybody was headed down to the line. The vibes, as the kids like to say, were at an all-time high under the Cowie pits. They had the speakers cranked up and just trying to create that happy atmosphere. Johnny, even like you were talking about, get the mentality in the right spot, get everybody excited to go play in the mud. That's going to do nothing but benefit them when the flag flew.
Absolutely. I mean, if you start that in the pits before the race, it just kind of carries over on the starting line. You could see some of the guys. I walked to several of the first few rows just kind of saying hello to friends and wishing them good luck, and you could see in some of the guys' faces it was just pure dread, and others, just kind of accepting it for what it is. But there was a few that were kind of grinning ear to ear saying, it's going to be a good day, we're just going to send it, and I think those are the guys, for the most part, that you'll see more so up front. Again, just that mentality.
Yeah, I want to give a big shout out to the Ampro Yamaha rider Danielle McDonald, grabbing her first WXC win earlier today. Asked her on the podium, these are wild conditions. How do we feel about it? She's like, yeah, I was not excited about it. She's like, normally not my cup of tea, but nonetheless, a lot of riders able to put that to the side and just say, hey, this is what we've got. Now let's go make the most of it. So congratulations to Danielle and that Ampro team. But yeah, she got it done, and it was not easy out there, Jackson. We saw a lot of flip-flopping around. And to Johnny's point, talking about that hard base underneath, I know just where we were sitting by the finish line, standing water, you couldn't quite see the square edge holes that laid underneath. I saw boots over top of helmets more than a couple of times. And so these riders going to have to kind of do a little bit of predicting, maybe just some crossing of fingers as far as what lies underneath the standing water.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And big congratulations to Danielle. She is a very young rider, and she's been working her way up. It seems like she gets better and better at each race, and I know that's not the end of her. But here we go, boys. The number 3 machine about to take a pit stop.
All right, let's see how they do it.
Look how clean he is with all the time he spent out front. I mean, he literally has virtually no mud stuck to the front of him. We see the entire crew around, including David Eller, team owner, Ryder Lafferty making the pass there. But now we know that he has a little bit better... let's see, looks like possibly Draper in there to the Ampro Yamaha pits. Then it comes Kwiatkowski. not electing to stop for fuel, goggles, gloves, anything this lap. They'll be right at about an hour by the time they make it through the finish line here. So we'll be 1/3 of the way through on time. We'll see how the lap times end up shaping up. Here comes Thad Duvall on that racetrack.
That's Cunningham.
Oh, wow, yeah.
There
is Ben Kelly in the background. Looked like possibly Nick DeFeo coming through there. Some fresh goggles there for Ben Kelly.
So T-Rex trying to chase down his buddy JoJo Cunningham. And I really didn't see a lot of riders stopping at all. More maybe three or four at most out of those XC1 and XC2 classes.
And I think everybody's trying to make it to that first fuel stop, and then they'll see what they can do about getting some clear vision. Looked like that then might have been Duvall coming through there. The 854 machine, he is a lap down there. Looking back, looks like that is Jack Walker there. One of those factory beta riders. They're taking a little bit of extra time, working on something, maybe possibly an air filter swap on the left side of the machine there. Yep, you can see the air filter in his hands, possibly ingesting some water into that and deciding they want to go ahead and change that out. Make sure that they get that machine to the finish line. Sometimes an extra 30, 40 seconds spent in the pits. Hey man, you could be leading the race 5 minutes out front. If it doesn't make it to the finish line, it's no good.
Long-sided versus short-sided, as you see the team making the most of the extra time, wrapping the grips, washing off parts of the bike. And you see it back off and rolling. Jack Walker back on track. Here we see there was Grant Davis. Looks like going to try to, looked like he was trying to grab a bottle there. Didn't end up reaching for it.
There's Craig DeLong just behind him there on that 342 Rockstar Racing Husqvarna. Just behind him. Couldn't tell who it was there. Was hoping we'd get to see, but we'll know here in just a moment when they check in.
We saw the beta team there on a two-stroke, Johnny. Do you think that there's any difference between the two-stroke and four-stroke as far as ingesting water and what you can put the machine through?
No, I mean, it just depends on the air filter location. So Ashburn got out of the pits pretty quick.
Yeah, pretty quick.
So I think that was Ryder Lafferty is the rider there in third. Now, let's get a look here as they've checked in, and it is Ryder Lafferty sitting there in the number 3 spot. Jordan Ashburn in 4th, and Johnny Gerard rounding out the top 5 with Liam Draper now checked in the number 6 spot, physically on the racetrack. So those are all XC1 riders. Looks like now Wachowski is also checked in 7th in that XC1 class. Here comes, looks like Gus Reardon, and we should have some XC2 riders checked in, and here they come, straight to the top of the charts. JoJo Cunningham out of that XC2 class, leading the way. Nick DeFeo into the number 2 spot in the class and overall, and Gus Reardon into the number 3 spot and 3rd overall. So top 3 running on the track. We will wait and see when Cooper Jones checks in, and right to the top of the charts, it is Cooper Jones. A little bit slower on the lap time than some of the riders in front of him, about 20 seconds, but still holding on to that overall lead out of the 258 class.
So how about that? Cooper Jones continuing to match the pace of the riders around him. Maybe just losing a couple of seconds on that last lap, but still enough to hang on to the overall lead on the KTM machine. So Jones got to be fired up right now, as we are just over the 1 hour mark here in what we still believe to be a full 3-hour-long race to kick off the 2026 season.
A lot of racing still left to go, and we saw it all morning long, Zach. Even in our first race of the day, a lot of these bikes ingesting water and having some real trouble out there, and we've saw it on just about every style bike here this morning, at least once.
Well, and there's so many things still yet to come as we get further and further. The bike's going to continue to take more and more punishment. The lap traffic going to start to get into the mix as well. We're still in chapter 1 of the book. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of things still left to come, and we saw riders like Jack Walker, a couple of teams taking a little bit of extra time thinking about the 2 hours to come, not so much focused on the current position. So big shout out Jason Tino running in that 5th overall spot, back racing with us, I believe coming back from injury now on that KTM 250 team, and looking good in that number 5 spot, trying to chase down the rest of the XC2 class in front of him. As
we wait and continue to watch for some of these amateur riders to come through, but notice we're seeing a trend here. We had our top XC1 rider in 10th on lap 1. Now they're up to 6th. Some of those XC2 and some of those A riders starting to drop a little bit further back in the overall running positions, but it looks like whether it be Grant Davis, Craig DeLong, Ryder Lafferty, Jordan Ashburn, and the rest, they still have quite a bit of work to do, with Cooper Jones out front leading the way on corrected time. It looks like we may have our leaders working their way through, and there it is. Grant Davis still out front. Craig DeLong still in the number 2 spot. Looked like,
whoa, lap rider going
Ryder
down.
Lafferty still in 3rd. Jordan Ashburn still in 4th. Johnny Gerard still sitting in that number 5 spot. Draper coming through there. Looks like Witkowski, one of the Baylor boys, so I'm guessing that's Stu. We got some more lap riders coming through. So here we are just into lap 3, and already the lap rider's pretty thick. Shows you the difference in pace between our front runners and our lap riders as they come through. There is...
That's what... That might be Reardon.
Yeah, that's going to be tough all year, but that is definitely Reardon. There is Nick DeFeo. So it looks like Reardon has gotten around DeFeo. There is Ben Kelly, and there is Caleb Russell.
So Nick DeFeo dropping the hammer on that last lap, just a couple of seconds faster.
There's your overall leader.
Cooper Jones, a 29.01. So, like I said, just dropping into the 29s, and then 2 seconds the difference between JoJo Cunningham and Nick DeFeo. And how about it, Grant Davis, though, the 28.33. Absolutely rolling, and Craig DeLong matching the pace as well. Craig looking mighty comfortable up here. I don't think he's dropped outside the top 3 so far this race.
Yep, no, he's definitely looking comfy, and we know we've seen him do very, very well in conditions similar to this. Just a few years ago, he was able to grab the win at the Georgia, the general GNCC, in very, very similar conditions. And just like that, it looks like he had, no, there's JoJo Cunningham. No, that was Greg DeLong. He has gotten around Grant Davis, dropping back to the number 3 spot, at least there. Witkowski very much in touch with the leaders now. So new leader, and it is the 342 of Craig DeLong. We give him a little love on Racer TV, and straight to the front he goes.
So DeLong looking good right now, and kind of seems like everybody just trading off sessions in the lead. Just like you said, Johnny, not any crazy effort to make passes at the moment, just trying to stay close, keep in tow with everybody, and really going to leave the battling down to the final hour or so as we continue to watch the lap traffic making their way through. That runner got through pretty good. I'll give him some credit there.
Well, let's talk a little bit about elapsed time here. We've talked about lap times, but let's talk elapsed time. So Cooper Jones with a 57 minutes, 57 seconds, 0.2. We can do away with the 0.2s for now, but he is holding about a 15-second lead over JoJo Cunningham on corrected time. So really, the fact that he was about 20 seconds rider slower than some of the other XC1 and XC2 riders on that lap, he's getting in danger of losing that overall lead if he's not able to kind of match the pace of some of those riders that are ahead of him on the track. He's going to have to latch on if he wants to continue to hang on to that overall lead. But honestly, if you're Cooper Jones, you know, getting the class win, getting the overall amateur, that's a great day. If he's able to keep it even on the podium in the top 5 or even in the top 10 overall, that is still a great way to start the 2026 season. Not saying he can't do it, but that lap, he definitely gave about 20 seconds of that lead back, and he's now down to 15. They are starting or working on their 3rd lap of what we think will be either a 5 or most likely a 6-lap race.
We saw Stu Baylor getting his first win of 2025 in some conditions similar to this in Talladega. My question is, where is Stu Baylor right now? It seems like we see him in the top 5, top 6 or 7, and then we don't.
Yeah, he's, I mean, looking at the running order, I don't see him at all. I don't know if it's a situation where his transponder's not working, because it does look like Josh Toth has now checked in as well. We refresh, and it looks like we've got some more amateur riders checked in. We've got riders jumping up in the overall positions. Oh, Mikey DeLosa out of that 258 class now into the top 20 as well as Cole Whitmer out of that Open A. So it looks like we have about 5 or maybe even 6 overall amateurs inside the top 20 overall as they run, the first of which being Cooper Jones leading the way.
So hanging here at the 3-mile mark, you still see some of those big rocks we talked about lying underneath the Union, South Carolina soil, and those things hide underneath the standing water as well. You never know what you're going to be rolling over, and like we talked about, Jackson, as the day has continued to progress on, we've gotten some square edge bumps, we've gotten all kinds of conditions that might be catching these riders off guard for sure. A lot of preparation, a lot of decisions having to be made before you line up. And man, how about it? We talk about getting some royalty. I don't know if he's just dodging the rain or if he actually wants to hang out with us. The Golden Boy, Brock Glover, in the booth with us. Brock, how glad are you to be in the truck and not out on the track right now?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm glad I'm not riding. I was out there. I was getting wet. Trust me, I'm soaked.
Guy's a mud flea over here. I love it.
I was soaked all the way, but you know, the amazing watching these guys ride through here is they're navigating this like it's not even that muddy, and it's pretty slippery, pretty sloppy, and skill set of these GNCC riders in the mud is incredible.
Yeah, we had a very different scene yesterday for our ATVs. We talked about the difference between the lap riders and the leaders yesterday. Yes, there was a pretty big difference, but today it is absolutely night and day. Some of these riders, you couldn't even tell that it's raining or muddy out there when the pros come through. And then the lap riders give, I feel like, the average man a little bit better of an understanding as to how difficult it is just to make a single lap around this track.
It is. Even over the finish line area, the switchbacks there's getting to be one hole. It's getting deeper and deeper, and we're still early in this race and having to have the spectators help pull a few bikes out there, getting up over the gas tank there. So there's going to be some of those gotcha ponds out there that these guys are going to have to be careful to not go into, because you can flood the bike. And definitely some DNFs on the horizon.
Absolutely, yeah, a lot to think about, and we were talking about this early. It's round one. There's so much excitement coming into it. It's the last thing that you really want to be thinking about. Save the bike, be patient, make sure you're going to make it all the way to the finish line, because everybody, they want to get out and fire off. They want to try to grab that first, that point to prove that they are the person to beat. As currently looking at the overall lap times between Grant Davis and Cooper Jones, as you can see, Cooper Jones, that 57.57 compared to the 58.35. There is your leader, Craig DeLong, and it looks like he is bringing Ryder Lafferty along with him. I believe that was Lafferty just behind him, but that was DeLong making his way through on that Husqvarna, and looked like he might have opened some space up.
Stu Baylor.
Yeah, wait a second. So Stu Baylor maybe potentially having some transponder issues. We've seen that throughout the day as well, Jackson, in these kinds of conditions. Whoa, one of your Phoenix Honda riders, I believe that was Wachowski, getting together with a lap rider. Might have been Ashburn as well.
DeFeo, I do believe, right there. Possibly one of the Yamaha boys.
Caleb Russell making through on the 557 Ampro Yamaha.
It's pretty remarkable how tight the top riders are. They're all just almost fender to fender here. It's amazing how they're staying in such a tight group in these difficult conditions.
No doubt. There goes Ben Kelly, another one of the KTM riders, and then another one, I believe that was Tino making his way through, and then there's Thad Duvall.
Yeah, good to see Duvall still hanging strong inside that freight train, and just like you said there, Brock, as close as they all are, one guy goes down, a couple of riders following him behind in that line. Next thing you know, you got a 4-rider pile up, and you just picked up from 9th to 5th, and so these guys staying close. They know what's at stake, but they're also staying patient. Johnny G was just talking about it. You're not seeing any crazy bonsai moves to make passes at the moment. These guys, you race GNCC long enough, you learn how to wait it out as far as these kinds of conditions. So for right now, everybody just continuing to run a pace they feel comfortable in, and it does, Jackson, look like we're starting to stretch out from that tail end of the XC2 field as well.
Yeah, no doubt. The XC1 class, I mean, they're a freight train. They don't slow down. It keeps going. A little bit different for some of our XC2 and Open A guys. You know, you'll see them start to go off. Like we said, they throw caution in the wind to get it started off with. That XC1 class, they normally go the opposite direction. They speed up as the race goes on.
I think you see a little of that in the Supercross too, right? In the 450 class versus the 250 class.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
450 guys first lap, they just give each other enough room. Nobody's taking each other out. The 250 class,
all over.
First lap or two is just chaos. So same thing here, maturity. I think that comes with age, a little bit of seat time, but
no doubt.
It's certainly going to be fun to watch as our lead group has made their way through the opening hour, officially in the books here for round one of the 2026 season. And it's looking like some heavy hitters up front early. Jordan Ashburn making that Phoenix Racing Honda debut after Liam Draper on the Emperor Yamaha, grabbing the whole shot. The kid, Grant Davis, he's in the XC1 class, and he's looking mighty comfortable, but he's flying under the radar, literally. Stu Baylor, we physically see him out there on track. There is T-Rex Nick DeFeo, your overall and physical winner from last year. He's on the charge, trying to get up towards the front as well. There's that hole Brock Glover was talking about, and it's not going to get any shallower throughout the rest of the race. How is it all going to play out? Who's going to be able to not only get themselves, but their machine to the finish line? We're going to find out. We're going to grab a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with the VP Racing Fuels Big Buck GNCC here on Racer TV.
Whatever you drive, however you drive. AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence. Order online at amsoil.com.
Unleash aggression, reliability, and premium quality with Kenda tires, delivering exceptional performance on all types of vehicles: automotive, ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, bicycles, trailers, lawn and garden, and even golf. Trust Kenda tires to guide you on your next adventure. Kenda, designed for your journey.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gasket seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best inside their engine. Cometic Gaskets are always constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environments. Whether it's a championship on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts alike depend on Cometic. Cometic Gasket, sealing championships since 1989.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to round one of the 2026 Progressive GNCC racing season. The VP Racing Fuels Big Buck GNCC. We had our beautiful eyes in the sky, Gabe Shull getting the shot yesterday when everything was sunshiny and nice, and this is what we've got here today. Mother Nature, she can't miss around. She's excited for GNCC to be back, and she definitely let us know that she is here, and she is a fan as the rain continues to fall. Jackson, just when we think it can't start raining any harder, it's like the rain upshifts, and it just continues to get worse and worse. We've got the man, the myth, Brock Glover, in the booth with us. You were out and about checking things out, and you were even saying out there, the way the bikes are sounding, you can already start to hear the toll that the machines are having to deal with.
Yeah, on lap one, I heard bikes going through. It just sounded like they've already sucked water. It's going to be a long race if they even make it to the end. You have to, as a rider, be smart. You understand that the race is almost 3 hours long, and you got to get to the finish line. So the veterans that we talked about earlier, the veterans know how to do that. The kind of rookies and young bucks, they don't seem to figure that out.
Yeah. Well, Brock, we know you're here doing your duties with Dunlop Motorcycle Tires. What are we seeing out there today?
Well, almost every single Dunlop rider that we, at the top level in this race right here, are running the scoop tire, the MX14. And from that tire on, there were most of other riders. I did see a couple of nobbies in the XC1 class, but very, very few. Most of them just go with the scoop.
Hanging out here at the 6 mile mark, and looks like that might be our lead group. Could that be, is that Ashburn?
Yeah, I believe so.
Leading the way, I believe so as well. So Ashburn continuing to kind of pop back and forth into the lead. Like we talked about, your XC1 top runners relatively close, but I don't know, things starting to open up a little bit, Jackson. It's only a couple of seconds, but it definitely makes a difference. There is Stu Baylor. He's flying under the radar right now. Transponder does not seem to be working. One of the KTM boys just behind him. There goes Wachowski. And it looks like that might have been another one of the cows. Was that DeFeo?
Yes, okay. I believe so.
So Nick DeFeo, T-Rex, he's trying to march his way forward. Didn't quite get the start that he was looking for. There is Davis, so he's dropped back a couple of spots. Got to wonder if Davis maybe found himself on the soil here, and believe this is the 557 of Caleb Russell, who we saw picking up a couple of spots as well.
I think Caleb was missing his goggles, and I believe Davis was as well. That could be contributing to some of this.
Yeah, I was going to say the hardest thing right now, as of all the support crews here, goggles. I mean, it used to be when it rained and muddy, it was like the tire guys and the goggle guys always had the job a little bit tough. Now tires pretty simple. You know, like I said, everybody going with the MX-14 scoop for the Dunlop guys. Goggles is the situation. Almost every rider's stopping for goggles on the first lap, even in the pit area. Visibility is so crucial here. When you don't have goggles, you can't get close enough to even make a pass.
There's Thad Duvall missing his goggles as well. I believe just ahead of him was Gerard, who was also missing the goggles with a ton of mud on his face. And something has happened to Gerard. He has definitely lost a couple spots. The KTM boys, something's went on this lap, no doubt.
Yeah, meanwhile, while it looked like Grant and Gerard both have dropped back, looks like Kelly slowly but surely continuing to pick things off. And I did see Kelly did have his goggles. So yes, we talked about the mentality and the maturity with time and experience. There is Gus Reardon, also no goggles on that Phoenix Honda. But looks like Kelly maybe taking that slow start. He was dead last coming into the woods off the XC1 line. He's taking his time, and he's starting to pick people off little by little. Curious to see where he's going to be the next time they come across the stripe.
Brock, you talked about him needing to get those goggles. I guarantee that there's some teams scrambling right now as soon as they heard they're missing them to get out there and get some goggles on those guys.
It is, and it's also hard. I mean, because you're constantly squinting. You're worried about a lapped rider if you come up behind them again, and then on top of that, get back to the tires. When they're running scoop tires and your competitors are running, those things throw an extra amount of dirt and mud in your face that you cannot get close enough to make that pass. And it is something you need to have a set of goggles on, if nothing else, just to protect your vision and protect your eyes.
Well, and another thing that Johnny Gallagher was talking about, and you can touch on this as well, Brock, the mental strain that comes with races like this. You've got so many split-second decisions. These guys trying to figure out what's understanding water. You're trying to dodge lap riders as well. We talk about how exhausting a GNCC race is, even in perfect conditions. But with stuff like this, the speeds may not be quite as fast as we see in the drier rounds, but you're making millisecond decisions, sometimes a million times a lap.
Yeah, most people, I mean, watching this coverage right here, have all experienced this in one way or the other with the goggles. But it's like driving your car when you don't have good windshield wipers, you don't have good vision, it's raining really, really hard. It is physically and mentally, it's fatiguing just trying to see where you're going and watching the vision, and suddenly you're dodging rocks and roots and mud holes. It's very, very tough. These are about as tough a conditions as you're going to get.
You notice some of the riders putting goggle lenses actually on the visor of the helmet and other things on the visor of the helmet, trying to dodge some of that roots coming off those scoop tires, where they can put their head down when they get in these situations. But that's only going to go so far on a day like today.
And especially if you have your goggles off, you do need that extra protection. It's kind of a duck bill on top of a duck bill, the old school duck bills, visors. Yep.
Yeah, we talked about not just the riders developing strategies, but the teams. They've got their little tricks of the trades as far as how to get the machines as prepared as possible. And then even, I know Stu Baylor, I want to say it was Talladega last year, he was the foam man. He was covered in foam head to toe, it seemed like, just trying to get some of. Now, that was a bit of the thicker, stickier mud that we've talked about. So theoretically, kind of bouncing off of the foam. Here, I think it might just be absorbing the water and might weigh you down a little bit more. But seems like everybody's got their own approach to try to prepare as much as possible for these conditions.
You know, Stu Baylor has to have some confidence from that Talladega race, and I believe we're seeing it right now as he's starting to work his way up through the pack.
Yeah, it looks like the confidence through that whole Rocky Mountain Red Bear Kawasaki crew right now. And sounds like getting word. Looked like Stu was 8th in XC1. They said 13th overall. So
not what we were thinking.
A little different than what we were expecting to hear off of what we saw on camera. So we'll continue to watch and wait now. Split second, you never know. Stu could have been up inside that top 5 XC1 and fallen back. I know we've got some spotters out there working with race control, but our Brock, looking at our screen right now, it's absolutely incredible. We talked about this. Maybe the biggest theme of 2025 was the kids, the XC2 riders, even some of our top A riders, how not only are they able to get up there, even Johnny had talked about not crazy new thing for XC2 to be up there in the beginning, but to have the speed and endurance and fitness to go the entire 3 hours, kind of changing the game. Just a year ago, for the first time, we saw a full XC2 sweep on the overall podium.
Well, the XC2, the 250F motorcycle has just evolved so much. The power is incredible. I was speaking with Chad Reed the other day, and he was actually out testing, and he was just saying how fast the 250Fs have come, because obviously Chad was one of the first guys to win championships on the early Yamaha when he came over here and rode for the Yamaha Troy team. But the evolution of that bike and how much horsepower they have, he said it's just incredible in the torque. So that in itself, and the fact that you're able to just turn it, it's a little bit lighter bike, less engine inertia. So it's, you know, the XC2s now, again, so much power, so much torque. They don't need the big power of a 450 or even a 350 to go in the woods like this. So it's almost at times can be an advantage, I think, and we're starting to see that more when you've got 3 or 4 of them running up to in the front.
Well, guys, check this out. We talked about Racer TV bringing racing action all the time, all over the world. We've got some friends and family of Grant Davis hanging out over at the Tall Pines Golf Course in Pennsylvania. They're watching their man Grant Davis try to steal a win here to kick off the season. So cool to see so many people. Look, we're watching a little bit of NASCAR, a little bit of GNCC, getting the best of both worlds out there in Pennsylvania, trying to cheer on their rider, Grant Davis. And it's so cool. I was talking about this earlier today. You go back 10+ years, Racer TV, the coverage has continued to evolve, different camera angles, so many different shots, and able to get a lot more in-depth with our riders, with our teams, and really show all things GNCC. We've got Ricky Carmichael Amateur Supercross coming up, J-Day Off-Road, so many different events going to be shown right here on Racer TV.
Hey, and speaking of that RCSX, that NASCAR race was on. It's also NASCAR's opening weekend this weekend. They're at Daytona for the Daytona 500. We're going to be there in a couple weeks right there where they're racing today.
Yeah, going to be a ton of fun. We had Scott from the crew over there in Kentucky getting ready, things set up for the Dukes coming up. I believe going to be round 5 this year, a new venue for GNCC, and man, it's so cool to see the smiles on the faces, not just of the track and the racing itself, but man, you talk about how much goes into just the property, the parking, getting everything set up, getting all the wristbands, everything set up. It is such an undertaking, and those guys, some might shy away from the challenge. They were embracing it, smiling, say we can't wait. We hope to have just as many people here at the Dukes that we have at Big Buck, if not even more.
Hey, and we're headed to Kentucky. That's not all, though. We're going to be headed to New York this year as well. We're headed to Watkins Glen. Speaking of NASCAR, we're going to be going to their facility for our second stop at a NASCAR facility in 2026. So some exciting stuff coming up.
And if you haven't been to the Finger Lakes up there in the New York area, it's absolutely beautiful. And I try to about every year get a little adventure bike riding in there. People don't realize there's some really, really fun adventure bike riding in that area. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you know, don't forget, load your adventure bike along with your GNCC bike when you go up to Watkins Glen, because again, the Finger Lakes is a beautiful area up there.
There we go. He's got the scoop tires and got the scoop on what to do when we're up in New York. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area.
That'll be my first time headed up there, so hey, I might have to do that myself.
Yeah.
Going to be a ton of fun. I know OPAG, a New Yorker himself, he's fired up to get it back in the home state as we continue to watch, and now starting to see a lot more of that steam rolling off. Earlier, I think it was just a bit of water bouncing off of the pipe, evaporating, but now things just about an hour and a half into this race. Bikes starting to heat up. You said we had some overheating, some possible DNFs on the horizon. This is when things really starting to get grueling on the machines here, Brock.
Yeah, down pit lane, I was watching steam blowing out and overflow, and these guys are already, you know, you're talking about overheating the engine, boiling out some of the coolant, blowing a big steam stream behind them as they head down this thing. It's like, man, that's only first lap. You better chill out here because you're never going to make it home.
Yeah, no doubt. That's something we talk about a lot. We actually had our trail bosses talking about it today. Don't throw it away on this opening lap. I know everybody's super excited to show what you've done in the off season, show what you're going to do here in 2026, but you can't win it on lap number 1, and you can't win the championship here at race number 1. So that patience is going to be a virtue today.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've been talking about it all day long. I had a great battle in our WXC class earlier, some great battles in our youth classes. Even yesterday in the drier conditions, it was the same thing. Hey, it's round 1. The last thing you want to do is make round 1 the only one that you're able to go to. We did unfortunately see that story play out for a couple of different people last year. Everybody trying to get into this thing healthy. Let's keep the ball rolling. And if you're somebody like a Josh Toth, maybe you're coming in less than 100%. Let's just take what we can get some momentum rolling, try to continue to get healed up, and hopefully be at 100% by rounds 3 or 4. And it's much easier said than done, Brian. Coming in, the mentality of knowing I'm not physically 100%, but I've still got to give it my all. It's quite the challenge some of these riders have to face.
It is, and it's just something, again, the maturity is we saw even at the highest level in Supercross, where a rider or two decided on the first lap of a main event of the very first race to just do something kind of risky and ended up knocking him down for the season. And so you really do. You have to take your, a little bit patience, especially in the first lap in these conditions. Incredible. Again, goggles, number one thing right there. Phoenix Honda's doing a good job here.
And look at that.
Jordan there getting his new set of goggles, a little splash and go there, and some rags to get those grips dried out.
Yeah, and that's the second time that we've seen Ashburn into the pits there, and now we see Craig DeLong. You see him trying to keep that machine running as well, slides back so the guys can try to wipe off the seats. That's that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize. You see some water getting sprayed. Oftentimes it's the radiators, it's the grips we think about, but the seat a big part of this as well. And of course the goggles, and didn't go like we wanted. Now costing them.
See, I was going to say, Craig, when he starts to put the goggles on like that, bump the visor with the strap, mud comes off the visor inside the goggle lens, and there's almost, most people have experienced that, having something rattling around inside your goggles. Pretty annoying. So you opted, I looked to get another set, right?
So there we see, looks like Chandler Russell waiting. Caleb Russell more than likely going to be taking a pit there. And you can see, looks like standing by with one of those goos as well. So not just about getting the bike back in shape. You got to get some hydration, got to get some supplements into the body as well. One of these things, it's a little bit chillier. Like we said, maybe not looking quite as intensive racing, but it is so depleting staying up front and keeping in the fight in these kinds of conditions.
It is, and then you burn extra calories just trying to keep your body warm. And then again, that's something that you don't want to run out of nutrition and run out of calories at the end of the 3 hours. And I noticed Craig DeLong, he didn't look like he had a whole lot of layers on. I mean, I was always wanting to put a couple extra layers on in these conditions. Like, he did not. Jersey looked like it was pretty tight on his skin. Maybe he had one layer underneath, but he certainly wasn't bundled up.
And we see your reigning champ, Ben Kelly.
Stuck those goggles right onto his visor.
Yeah, a bit of an interesting move. And we saw this earlier today in our WXC class. Brock, Danielle McDonald pulling in for a quick stop. Had the goggles like 90% on the helmet, and then whoop, they just slipped right off into the mud. And so, like what Johnny was talking about earlier, that extra half a second, even for some of these teams, an extra 30 seconds or so. And looks like Thad Duval going to pull in. Wonder if they're going to try to do a filter swap here.
Pulling all the way in.
Into the tent. And you see, I believe that's his mom right there holding up some fresh gloves as well. So the rider's trying to get as much as possible. He's wiping the eyes out. And that's another thing. It's one thing to get fresh goggles, but if you've already got your face painted with mud, it's going to immediately fall into those goggles. So having to take a second, get things cleaned up. Does look like they're doing that filter swap there as well for Thad Duval. Now we see Mike Wachowski into the Phoenix race. No, that's Gus Reardon.
Yes,
I see the green background now on the Phoenix Racing Honda, your XC2 class, wiping the face with the goggles, waiting.
Look at the steam rolling off that machine.
I'm starting to like watching this over and over and over. You wonder if it wouldn't. They are certainly taking their time to do the pit stops, do it correctly, because one mistake can actually lose you minutes out there on the course. But you wonder if they wipe their visor with a wet towel or something like that to get that big clumps of mud off, then put the goggles on. You have a lot less risk of getting some mud inside the goggles.
There we see Caleb Russell now making his way into the pit, completely stepping off the motorcycle. Now, the process of changing the filter different based off of the manufacturer.
It definitely looks like he's putting new gloves on, too.
Might be stepping off the machine for just a moment. You see the team taking a second to clean out part of the bike.
Yeah, anybody that doesn't know, the air filter is going to be at the front.
That's what he was complaining about. He's got something in his eyes. So he's got his helmet off. It looks like he's washing his face and eyes out right now, and he'll probably put his helmet back on and get going. But yeah, again, see, he can't. You can.
Yeah, not even got one of the eyes open.
Oh man!
Hopefully, he didn't take something into the eye.
He's upset.
You can see the frustration in the body language of Caleb Russell. And that's what Johnny was talking about. You can get away with it for a little bit, but it's just a matter of time before something slips through the eyelashes and gets in. And as fast as some of those scoot tires are throwing roost, it's basically taking a pressure washer shot straight to the eyes.
Yeah, he's got his eyelid.
You almost need like a... Yeah, there we go. Yep. You about have to. Yep.
Well, that's just...
You almost need like a syringe filled full of eye drops or something in a situation like that. That's tough to get it out of their face.
And that's
Caleb's as tough as it gets.
I was about to say, Caleb says, ow, most of us would be crying by now. So, and it just goes to show he's taking that second.
Yeah, hoping he didn't take some actual like
a rock or something. Yeah.
I actually do have a scar right on the front of my doctor. Always asks me, "What is that from?" I go, don't want to riding 500s with no goggles.
Ooh.
It's not a good thing. So.
And there's no doubt about it. One of these 450 machines, even with the goggles on, a rock can go straight through it, no problem.
Man, now, as we were watching the pit lane chaos going on, our lead group has made it through the scoring area. And take a look at this. Am I seeing 2025 all over again or what? Nick DeFeo, T-Rex, has taken over the #1 spot out of the XC2 class. Jordan Ashburn now in the 2nd overall spot. And it looks like Cooper Jones in the #3 ride, still hanging on for an overall podium at the moment. But Nick DeFeo, wow, this guy just seems to be vibing here in Union, South Carolina. Not only on corrected time, but physically beating the rest of the field. And look at that, Caleb Russell still in the pits. You see Danielle McDonald, our WXC winner from earlier today, just off to the side. Man, and it's one of those things, there's nothing you can do. You want to try to help, but it's pretty much just try to flush that eye out and hope that he's going to be able to get the vision back, as we see Stu Baylor making his way through, shown as 5th overall and I believe 3rd in your XC1 class.
And was that DeFeo hooked to him right there?
It might have been.
I believe it was DeFeo. And when you're playing with time like DeFeo is, Zach, those opening pit stops, the urgency he had, that might be the difference between an overall and not.
Well, and that's what we talked about. T-Rex was fired up coming off a solid result just a week ago at one of the season openers for a different series that the team runs. And now got a little cut on the neck, but nonetheless, he is fired up. And how could you not be after such an incredible performance? And it sounds like OPAG got some breaking news from us. And horrible news for the #2. Sounds like Grant Davis is broken down and might just be out of this. We'll see whether or not it's something that the team can get fixed, but that is not what Grant Davis needs to start off his season.
Yeah, Zach, sounds like he's over near the start area, so already losing quite a bit of time so far. We'll see if they're getting back out on the track. Possibly ingesting some water. It's hard to speculate in conditions like this.
Man, absolutely heartbreaking. And it's one of those things where sometimes there's a rider that's not worried about saving the bike at all that makes it to the finish. Sometimes there's a rider that does everything correct to protect the machine, and it still just isn't able to hang on. So tough break for the #2. And it sounds like his big buck might be coming to an end early.
There goes Craig DeLong. And now seeing Stu Baylor popping in. Let's see if this is Nick DeFeo right behind him. Going to take a look real quick at Caleb Russell, and that is Nick DeFeo right there. There goes the Honda machine of Wachowski. KTM machine making his way through.
And once again, giving a shout out, Jason Tino now worked his way up to the #2 ride out of your XC2 class. Yeah, sitting 9th overall on that 226 machine. Did not see much of Tino at all last year, so kind of making a statement. Hey, I'm back and I'm feeling good, running in that #2 spot in XC2, 9th on the overall charts.
Trying to see who that was behind him there. It looked like possibly maybe another KTM rider. Maybe Gerard.
Yeah, it looks like trying to see who's behind him. Yeah,
that would match up.
Yep, that would make sense. So, and looks like JoJo Cunningham having some issues as well. He drops all the way back to the 16th overall spot, and that is, I believe, 6th in your XC2 class. And we're going to take a lap time look here as we break down that last lap. Things continuing to develop here on this last lap. Take a look. There's T-Rex with a 29.43. Ashburn a 29.37. And it looks like Ashburn, Mr. Consistent, yeah, he picks it back up on that last lap.
That lap, yeah.
So Jordan Ashburn, what's the old saying? Jordan loves the mud?
Jordan loves the mud.
Well, it's certainly looking like it's loving him back right now. Stu Baylor, though, still running a solid lap as well, yeah.
29 there.
Just a little bit slower than DeFeo. DeFeo's still the man with the plan. Jordan Ashburn just a bit faster, but DeFeo kind of playing with some house money there as far as the time's concerned.
Well, T-Rex, another perfect example. We know, I'm gonna say it, I think this kid wants to do it again. He wants to physically beat the entire field. But like you said, playing with a bit of house money, at what point is the team going to be like, hey, you've got this thing wrapped up, let's not take any unnecessary risks. But I'll be honest, every time we see DeFeo on camera, it doesn't look like he's riding crazy over his head, anything like that. Just seems like he's able to keep some technical skill. And yeah, OPAG even chiming in saying it's very similar to what we saw last year. Not doing anything crazy. It's one thing when a guy's wide open, his feet are flying all over the place, but T-Rex, a very technical rider, and he's been a name up and coming for quite a while where we've been expecting big things from him.
Well, you see, I mean, the old saying about those horses for courses, And there's certainly, when you come into an event and you've won there, and especially when you're a guy like this wins an XC2 overall, there's a warm, fuzzy feeling when you pull in the gate. Trust me. I mean, you see it happen in all forms in Supercross, Motocross. I mean, you look at a guy like Cooper Webb. He continually wins at, Arlington, which is next week. You just have a good feeling when you pull into that. You're like, yep, I landed in Dallas. I've got so much success at this. It's just a good feeling. Well, you got Nick right here. He could be feeling the same thing when he pulls into the big buck gate.
No doubt, and I believe he's definitely feeling that. And I believe with a rider like Nick DeFeo, that might even be a little more exaggerated than with most riders, as Nick didn't have the season that I'm sure he planned to, especially after coming out and physically winning it. Not seeing him a whole lot up on the podium after that. You get back here, you show back up, the conditions line up, you find yourself there. They're telling you you're in first. I'm sure he's got all those feelings and then some.
Well, and on top of that, we think about it, that was his XC2 debut.
Yes.
And so he's got a full year of XC2 racing in what was arguably the strongest year of the XC2 class that we've seen in quite some time. So DeFeo getting some experience under his belt, not only in the sense of racing that XC2 class, but being a full-time XC2 racer. He's on the program. He's still back with the same team, so not a lot of changes between or throughout the offseason. So this could be a very dangerous Nick DeFeo if he can get the ball rolling just like he did last year and actually keep stacking up some podium finishes and wins.
No doubt. Let's see who we have coming here. That is Jordan Ashburn making his way through.
So the Phoenix Racing Honda leads the way, the big number 3. Looking good and looking lonesome out there as he has dropped the riders behind him. We talked about that freight train, and somebody has broken away now as we're still waiting on the next of our lead group riders. So Ashburn, he was, I believe, 5th on the overall chart the last lap. Gotta wonder if he can keep dropping the hammer like this. He might be trying to take down Nick DeFeo for that overall win.
Yeah, we saw his lap time was the quickest of the previous lap there. So, I mean, you could see the speed Jordan was carrying through there. It just was a little bit higher than everyone else's.
Craig DeLong making his way through on the Husqvarna. Still a very solid ride for Craig. As now, this is when we need old Eagle Eye.
Yes. That one was a hard one to see as they made their way through. Everybody,
I believe that's Draper.
That was Draper. I did see Stu Baylor still hanging in there as well. Just about where he is in timing and scoring. Maybe even possibly a few riders able to get around Baylor there. We'll be able to give you guys a better look at that on the next camera shot.
We need, like, right before the scoring section, just like a big arch where it's got water spraying down. Just cleans the number plates, the helmets off for us.
That's right.
I'll add that to my wish list.
When you're king, you can make one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start drawing it up now.
We'll do that, and we'll do the goggle. You're going to spray the visor off so it doesn't get dirt in the goggles, and then we're going to have a little better eye wash system for Caleb. We got all these things. Keeping notes.
We're going to write that down. Write that down.
Yep. Seeing some riders making their way through with some license plates.
Yeah.
So, hey,
had some headlights on earlier.
They don't even need to bring an extra bike. They can just head on out.
Yep, and our leaders are all up in the, multiple levels of talent here, so it's makes it harder and harder to work their way around them, especially in these conditions, because a rider ahead of you could make a simple mistake, obviously not intended to do, and just cut right in front of you and cause some problems. So you have to be a little extra cautious when you're one of the faster guys moving through the pack.
Well, and another nice thing, yes, we're seeing some lap traffic significantly slower than our leaders, but so far, obviously not got the full lap here, but not seeing a ton of riders broken down or sitting off the side in the middle of the lines. Looks like everybody's still circulating their way around the course, so definitely a little bit easier when the lap rider is also capable of getting out of the way instead of just throwing their hands up saying, sorry guys, I can't move.
Yeah, looks like another one of our KTM riders, possibly one of the amateurs there making their way around. Here we go, back to our leaders. There's Jordan Ashburn.
Using those long legs to paddle that Honda through.
And man, what a start to the year this would be for Phoenix Racing.
Yeah. If
they would be able to get a win in the XC1 Pro class. Not only to end the season in 2025, but to start it in 2026.
Yeah, I definitely think this is a good duo. Just the maturity and the way they handle situations between David Illard and that Phoenix Honda team and Jordan Ashburn. I think that's gonna work together very well. And I believe we were able actually to catch up with the number 3 of Jordan Ashburn, talk a little bit more about his switch to Phoenix Honda.
The off season this year was pretty busy and pretty fast, but it was good. There's a lot of learning experience on a new motorcycle, and I always like challenges, and just starting around a new brand this year was was new for me on a Honda. I've never rode Honda motorcycles, and just stepping in with a team and learning them and figuring out the bike and getting things dialed in was a great experience. And I'm ready to pick up where we left off toward the end of last year. Back on the podium and back as a contender. And we missed a few races last year, but try to be consistent all year this year. And as far as the bike, it's really good. Really been happy with the motorcycle, and it's been a different process, but really good. Like, the team's been really good and really helpful, and just getting to know everyone, and we all gel really well, and I'm excited about the season. Focused. Yeah, I think I just like I said before, I know what I'm looking for and know what I want, and I'm just focused on trying to achieve that this year.
Man, great to hear from Jordan Ashburn. And I think Jordan's the kind of rider that's going to be equally as beneficial to the Phoenix Honda team as Phoenix Honda is going to be for him. He's got great feedback. He's able to break down the racing so well. So, like I said, I think that's going to be a great relationship here in 2026.
Yeah, it's very exciting to see the change for him and get a good team behind him. And like you mentioned, the Phoenix Honda guys are going to be busy. David Ellers also has his Supercross team starting next week in Arlington, and so that's their first East Coast 250 East Coast event. So they got a busy schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're watching that lead group make their way through, and the Scoops had the roost flying there, man. Just like you said, absolutely massive chunks of mud flying up. And at least in this section, looks like some of the standing water's kind of been splashed out of the way. So now it's just a little bit of that slimy slop, as we like to say. And that's the last thing that you want smacking your goggle lenses.
Jackson, you were talking about the difference between the mud here at Talladega and the mud here at Big Buck. It's I'm surprised how good the traction is, as sloppy as the conditions are. And then you get down in that Georgia, Alabama mud, that red
Ohio, up at the John Penton, a whole nother world.
My God, barely can walk across it. So this is actually, it's a sloppy mess, no question about it. A lot of roots, a lot of rocks, things showing, but the traction seems better than you would expect.
Yeah, no doubt.
The Penton mud you could build a house with.
Yeah, you could.
Those guys on Facebook, that the video you're watching too late at night, that's what they're using, is John Penton mud to build that house.
You're exactly right. That is a whole nother world when you get into that.
So making our way through here.
We even talked about it. Johnny talked about that a little bit earlier, thinking maybe that's where some of the A-Class was gaining some traction, is knocking some of that mud off, knocking some of that water off, and getting even better traction once our XC1, XC2, and allowing somebody like Cooper Jones maybe to really put those tires to work.
Yep. Speaking of the expert there, I want to hear some goggle stories. We watched Caleb down there, so let us know what happened, Johnny.
All right, so big shout out, Brock Glover joining us here in the booth as we welcome back Johnny G. He's been out and about. I was waiting for him to pop in the screen and start helping some. I thought you were going full mud flea on us.
I went over and prepped some goggles. Unfortunately, it was a little too late. Yeah, Caleb just opting to go without the goggles. Seems like a good idea in the moment a lot of times, and it's hard. Obviously, now with the rain stopping, it's actually getting worse. It's starting to get more slurry, as I like to call it. And you got to keep goggles on, man. It's tough. You feel like you're just wasting your time when you stop. You put those goggles on, and a couple miles later, you're peeling them off. But every minute, every mile that you go, that you still have goggles on, you're saving those eyes. Unfortunately, went over there, had a hole in a water bottle trying to squirt out the eyeballs after I believe the camera left, and he's headed back to the camper. I think he's going to go get some medical attention. Both eyes. What happens is it's a reflex action. When you scratch your corneas, your eyes will force themselves shut to protect themselves, and you can tell your mind to open them, and your body won't react. So both of his eyes are stuck shut at the moment. So he'll get some medical attention there from Dr. Tanner. Big shout out to the SOS medical team there. They'll get him squared away. Probably have to put some ointment, some saline drops, and some other numbing solution in there to get him to open back up, but he'll be okay in a couple days. But not the way anybody wants to start off the season for sure. But it's tough, man. It's always a balance in these conditions. A lot of guys will just pitch their goggles, think they can duck their head, and sometimes it does work. It's not like it never works, but obviously today for Caleb it did not, and it's unfortunate. But I'm sure a lot of these guys you can see coming by. There looks like Cooper Jones, third place overall, and then Ben Kelly coming through there as well. it's you can see everybody's taking the extra time, washing out the radiators, changing filters. This has become a race of attrition.
Well, and just like we were talking about, we heard Grant Davis, unfortunately, breaking down, not going to be in the race. We were talking about you can do everything right. Sometimes the bike still gives up. Same thing. There's guys that have not had goggles on this whole time that are completely okay. Guys take the goggles off for a split second, and it's just the wrong time. And so, unfortunately, tough break for Caleb Russell. And he was charging hard. He was looking good up towards the front end. So, best of luck with Caleb, man. I can't imagine. That's pretty gnarly. We saw that was one of the most brutal camera shots we've seen all season long. He's holding the eye open and just dumping water in it. So he definitely did everything he could.
And you know, in the MX GP with the FIM, they actually have a rule when you take your goggles off. You have either 1 or 2 laps to come back in, and they have a goggle lane where you have to come in and get a new set of goggles for the safety and for those reasons you were talking about, John.
Yeah, the biggest thing in GNCC, and it's not so much an issue on this track because obviously we don't see the foliage on the trees, but what ends up happening is that mud slings up, hits on the leaves and the branches start to fall down. So even if you're not getting roosted, you're going, and those branches are hitting you in the face. They're wiping muddy water and mud across your eyeballs. The worst time I ever had it happen to me back in Kentucky in 2013 was actually leading, and Walker Fowler and I were battling. It happened to him right in front of me. A branch, a bunch of leaves smacked him in the face. He came to a complete stop. And I said, "Are you stuck?" And he said, "I can't see. I can't open my eyes." I went around him, went about another mile, and the exact same thing happened to me. We actually rode to the race together and had to have somebody drive us home because neither one of us could open our eyes at all. It's ugly. I've seen it happen many times. I've had it happen to me. That was the particular worst time. But, yeah, it's just the good thing is the corneas heal themselves pretty quickly. It's one of the quicker parts of the body that regenerates. It's almost like getting a scab. It goes over, and within a couple days, good to go. But, man, it's a rough couple days. Blurry vision, can't open your eyes, and you'll just have gunk coming out of your eyes, as it tries to heal itself. Essentially, pus. Looks like...
Is that DeLong?
Looks like it is possibly Craig DeLong down there. Yep. He looks like he got a little cross-rutted there and ended up hitting the deck. Stu Baylor getting by, but he is up and underway.
So taking a look at the FMF PowerPoint, the 9-mile mark, and like Johnny said, it looks like things kind of starting to settle down a little bit as far as the rain goes, and that was the big question, was will it continue to rain throughout the entire duration, and how is that going to affect the track? We're just a little past the halfway mark, about an hour and 50 minutes into this 3-hour-long race. Man, that section right there, you just saw, it looked like most of the mud itself, the water had moved out of the way, but there's still that hard base underneath, and it's kind of got these rolling whoops, for lack of a better word there. You got to wonder whether or not Craig DeLong got a kick and found himself on the ground. Now he is back up, and he is back on the chase of Stu Baylor, but we were able to catch up with the factory Husky rider, none other than Craig DeLong.
Feeling good, honestly. Last year didn't go as well as expected. I had a little bit of a rough year and a little bit of a head injury at the end of the year, so I got a little bit of a longer time off than normal, so I was able to kind of reset and charge the batteries more than normal. So that was, I think, a big help for me, and yeah, just feeling motivated and ready to go. I'm very excited for what the year has in store for me. We had a national enduro last weekend, and I had a good result there, and just kind of got the jitters out of the way, I guess. But these, the GNCCs, that brings another set of jitters. So no, it was good to start off on the right foot and just kind of build some confidence, know that I can still do it, still go fast. So no, it's been fun. It's been a good winter, and yeah, I'm excited to get going. Yeah, honestly, it's going to be another exciting year for sure. Grant's moving up. He's going fast. Cody's going fast. He's always been fast. And I think other than those two, it's pretty much the same group of guys, which, if you get to this class, you can go fast. So there's no real question or doubt, it's pretty much just who's feeling it that day and, who wants to go fast. So I'm excited, though. I feel like I'm going to be in the picture more than I was last year. Just different mindset, just different motivation. And, yeah, I feel like I got a little bit of my 23, motivation and drive back that I've been missing the last couple of years. So I'm excited for that. And, yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting year of racing.
Well, there you go. In the words of Craig DeLong, right from himself, talking about the fact that he feels like he's back to the form he was at in 2023, the mindset that he had, obviously coming out of 2023 with an overall championship. So that does not go unnoticed when you start talking like that, because sometimes that mindset, Brock, as you know, it can really weigh heavy on how you ride once you get to the track. And in tough conditions like today, when you're looking at trying to go the long haul for 13 rounds, it's easy to say, well, I can just kind of phone it in today, maybe try to get myself top 20 or not even at all. When you're racing for a championship, you know that every point counts. And looks like Craig DeLong is, you saw how quick he picked his bike up there, and he's back at it.
Yeah, every single position counts, as you mentioned. A point here, a point there at the end of the season. When it comes down to 1 or 2 points, you're thinking about how long it took you to get off the ground if you made a mistake. So it's very important. 13 rounds, a lot of times and a lot of opportunities to score points and also lose them.
Yeah, absolutely. And the man in the position right now to score the most points for the second year in a row, if he can hold it there, Nick DeFeo leading the way in that overall out of that XC2 class. Looking at elapsed time, I jumped back in here. Don't know if you guys talked about it, but with 1:27:58.4. He's got about a 22-second lead over Jordan Ashburn. And Cooper Jones only 1/10 of a second behind Jordan Ashburn for that second place overall position. So an absolute crazy battle that those top three are having right now. So close, and so many other riders still in the mix there in the 128s, all the way down to Stu Baylor in that number 5 spot.
Well, speaking of Stu Baylor, I believe we were able to catch up with the man, the myth himself, Stu Baylor, talking about his team coming into 2026.
Man, I have a lot of mixed emotions on Big Buck overall. It's tough because this is the race where I got my first ever XC2 podium. This is the race that I got my first ever 65 win, my first year racing GNCCs. This is the race that I got my first ever XC1 win. This is also the race that broke my neck and nearly left me paralyzed. This is also the race that last year I had just taken over the XC1 lead again when Ashburn started to have problems, and my bike also started to have problems. And it's up and down. It's emotional. I would say this place overall, it's a difficult round for me, even as local as it is. For some reason, I do struggle at this place in particular. We've had success, but we've also had a lot of hardship at this round in particular. Yeah, as far as the team manager and team ownership roles, it's never easy. This time of year is always difficult. I'm on the phone nonstop just trying to make sure that we're walking that balance. And man, balancing relationships with sponsors and companies and riders and mechanics and all of it, it's you just get caught in the crosshairs a lot. Myself, I've been I would say more on the personal side, and it's more of a split duty between my wife and I this year. She stepped up to the plate, and we made her quit her job. Still on her business, but made her stop doing the day-to-day so that she could help out here and the kids could be more a part of everything that we're doing, and just kind of working towards that common goal. But she's more organized than I am, so she takes care of our parts orders and a lot of the day-to-day stuff. I'm usually on the emotional support side and making sure that everybody's getting what they need, and trying to relay those messages so that she can follow up from there. But man, it still sneaks up no matter how early we start our orders. There's companies that we ordered stuff clear back in October and it showed up just before we left here, boxes that showed up last night. So those things are frustrating. It's part of the game, and man, I think the season sneaks up on everybody, teams included, but companies, everybody. That time of year is tough, and yeah, it's never easy gearing up for round one. Yeah, as far as our team, we consist of 4 pro riders again. So in XC1, you'll see the 514 myself, the 314 my brother, 206 of Josh Toth, and the 246 of Nick DeFeo in XC2. So a really solid lineup, a couple A riders covering the 250A class this season. We have 3 guys on the 250s, and hopefully seeing some stuff coming from those guys in the future. But as far as the XC1 guys, it is stacked, 3 XC1 riders, and XC2 that obviously can mix it up in the top 3 overall. And man, our guys have to be very prepared, especially in the pits whenever we come in. There's no reason that we shouldn't be nose to tail when we come on for the gas.
Man, so he's saying he wants it as tough as possible on the team. He wants them all wheel to wheel, everybody pitting in at the same time. And he talks about this being a location where his XC2 rider, Nick DeFeo, not only, he said a threat for the overall podium. Nick DeFeo looking once again to try to be a threat for that overall win, physically beating everybody last year, and at the moment got the corrected time in his favor for the moment. But man, Jordan Ashburn, the last few camera shots that we've gotten of him, he is on the attack, trying to stretch things out, trying to take back that overall lead.
Well, I don't know if you guys have mentioned this, but Jordan likes the mud.
We just hit it a few minutes ago. I almost forgot.
That was the thing on Racer TV for so many years. Mikey Waynes, Rodney Tomlin, DQ, David Quillen would talk about Jordan's dad used to say that, but it's true. He rides so well in the mud. He's just one of those guys. He's tough. He's been around. He's a smart rider. He's very calculated. He's not one of the wilder, run and gun, point and shoot kind of guys. He carries a lot of flow, and his riding style naturally just lends itself to these conditions. Plus, taller rider, longer legs. We've talked about how that can help in these conditions, and he may be sitting there in the number 2 spot overall, but he's on a charge, and it looks like he's definitely a threat here for the win here today.
Hanging out at the 11-mile marker. Now back to pit lane as we see some of our pros making their way through. Seeing the pit boards out.
This will be then 4 laps complete, meaning we are down to what looks like it will be about 2 more laps of racing once they make it to the finish line. We'll see if it is the 2-lap card in the hands of Ricky Towery. Looks like we've got some more riders working in there. That appears to be Johnny Gerard there. We can tell by the head shake. And there goes Stu Baylor through as well. No, that might have been, was that DeFeo? Not sure who that was. Maybe it was a lap rider. But Johnny Gerard, that head shake, opting to go with the tear-offs. No roll-offs for Johnny. More riders working their way through here.
And for the most part, nobody really stopping. Looks like Johnny grabbing a quick fresh set of goggles, but besides that, almost everybody sprinting their way through the pit area. It's always a just-in-case effort, though. You see all of these people with extra rags, extra paper towels in case their rider. There is Stu.
Goggles off for Stu. Looks like maybe Wachowski right behind him there. We saw the pit board. And then there goes Liam Draper. Looks like he's moving to the right side of the track. I think we might see a pit out of the 198 machine. And there he goes into the pits. The team goes quick to work. Fresh got goggles, rinsing off the brakes, rinsing out the radiators, and sending him on his way. He barely even came to a complete stop there. He is definitely quick in and out of those Ampro Yamaha pits and charging in that number 7 spot. We did see, looks like Johnny was the big jump there. He was 8th last lap. He is now ahead of Draper, Wachowski, and Baylor. So it looks like he's at least up to 3rd physically in that XC2 class. We saw Craig DeLong go down. We haven't seen him come by yet, unless he was one of those riders that was covered in brown. But it may be a situation where DeLong has dropped back a little bit, but we'll find out when they check into scoring here in just a moment. So we got a lap rider there, but the rider behind him looks like he's moving pretty quick. And it is Jordan Ashburn.
So here it is. Going to check deep hole right here. I was going to say how slowly is he going to take it. Oh, actually, that was 2 corners ahead. So
yep, 2 lap cards. So Nick DeFeo has checked in ahead. Or no, sorry, that's still 3 laps complete. We didn't see 4 yet. So we're waiting on live timing. There we go. Jordan Ashburn checked in. Lap time of 29:49. So on pace with DeFeo's lap, the last lap. Total elapsed time of 1 hour, 58 minutes, and 9 seconds. And he is still the only rider having checked in now with 4 laps complete. But it looks like we've got some more riders headed that way soon. And now Johnny Gerard has checked in 21.8 seconds behind. I told you guys that was him coming out of the pits. He passed all of those riders ahead of him there. Looks like now we have Craig DeLong in the pits. That crash definitely proving costly. DeLong dropping way back in the pack and likely falling outside of the top 10 overall after previously having been running in that number 5 spot. So Gerard has checked in, and now Nick DeFeo has checked in with a 29:35. So he was actually about 14 seconds faster than Jordan Ashburn, but Johnny Gerard with a 29:22, the fastest rider on the track that last lap around, and he sits on corrected time about 57 seconds behind Nick DeFeo still with 1:57.34, and Jordan Ashburn at 1:58.09. So he would be 26 plus 9. He'd be 35 seconds back, and Johnny Gerard another 21 seconds behind him. So now that gap inside the top 3 is starting to open up a little bit, and it's going the way of Nick DeFeo with that fast lap time there. He's putting himself in position to potentially repeat that historic performance of just a year ago.
Yeah, we had that big question mark. We saw the intensity. Looked like it stepped up for the number 3 of Jordan Ashburn. How much time was he going to be able to drop? Was he going to be able to be within a few seconds or so of DeFeo? But, man, it seems like DeFeo has matched the intensity, running a couple of seconds faster on that last lap and continuing to make things look mighty pretty for him to repeat here in 2026.
So we've got a couple more riders checked in. Mike Witkowski in that number 4 spot overall and 3rd in that XC1 class. Liam Draper is checked in the 5th spot overall, 4th in XC1, and Stu Baylor 6th spot overall, 5th in the XC1 class. So that, and now we got Ryder Lafferty's checked in, 7th spot overall, 6th in XC1, and the gaps are pretty close. Witkowski 1 minute behind Gerard, though. So it looks like with the 21-second gap from Ashburn back to Gerard, it may be coming down to those two starting to pull away from the rest of that XC1 field.
Man, Gerard finding something on that last lap. He'd been kind of picking up a spot here, a spot there, but, man, he clicked the go button. And speaking of Johnny Gerard, we were excited to see him back with us here in 2026, and we were able to catch up with the number 80 headed into Big Buck.
Yeah, I feel good. I had a good off season, training with the guys, and down in Pinecone in Florida, and yeah, we're ready to rumble. I'm confident, and I've been working hard since Ironman last year. So yeah, I missed a little bit of time on the bike the last 2 weeks, but nothing. I'm sweating, and should be a good year. Man, Big Buck. I've had a couple successes here, a lot more negatives here. It's a tough weekend being here. Kind of just some I guess family deaths on my wife's side, and on our way to this race, and yeah, it's kind of a little bit of an emotional roller coaster here. But I have won. I won in 24, and I think I've got an XC2 win here. Up and down, I guess. Some good, some bad. Not my favorite round, but left here in a helicopter. But yeah, like I said, have some good success here too. And I like the track when it's good. And yeah, was rolling last year and had an unfortunate mechanical issue, but I'm looking forward to giving it another go.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and ask the question on everybody's mind. That earring, it caught my eye. I'm no hate comms here. I'm just curious. Okay, sounds like OPAG says we've actually got a little more of an explanation on it. I'm just trying to up my style game here. Let's hear what's going on with Johnny G and that earring. I like it.
The new, it's the tiger's eye in Indian feather, and my grandma was a pretty good percent Indian, and my dad's elementary school picture, he looks like an Indian for sure, and I think it's pretty good percent in our blood, and my grandma calls me Johnny Running Deer. The tiger's eye in the earring, it's for courage, protection, confidence, and yeah, just got it, thought it was cool. Like people looking at me like I got 10 heads, so I'm running with it.
Johnny Running Deer. All right, that's it. Jumping Johnny's gone.
Hey, I don't really know what to say except that Johnny Running Deer is running right now compared to the other competitors that are running a 29:22. The next fastest rider on the track was our overall leader, Nick DeFeo, with the 29:35. So, yeah, man. I mean, 13 seconds faster. Johnny Running Deer, earring, tiger's eye, locust blood, whatever it takes. Get it done, man.
I'm hearing we got some swag on the back of the helmet as well. So
yeah, Jumpin' Johnny is the nickname that I thought was that, but I mean, Running Deer, that's got to stick. We're going to have to request a new paint job or something for the
JRD.
league. Exactly, Johnny Running Deer. So I like it, and whatever works. And that's another big part of it. I mean, superstition, I think, kind of another unspoken part of racing. A lot of people, they got to put the right boot on first. They got to do this. They got to do that. And so, yeah, obviously Johnny sounded like having some Native American ties in the family, and.
Look at that. That is Liam Draper.
Draper down, yep.
Went down on that route there, and it looks like he went down again. As he was trying to get up there, it looked like he got kind of high-sided one direction, and that looks to be Stu Baylor. It is. No goggles for Baylor. He looked like he stopped and got some, but apparently they didn't last very long. But again, the conditions very, very tough out there right now.
Sorry, Johnny. It looked like the team's running over to Stu right now to get those goggles on.
There you go. You got to get those goggles on, man. At conditions like this, you can see that slurry just all around the trail. And it's not even just, if you're getting roosted. I mean, even just flying up off your own machine, and like we talked about, if there is somebody in front of you, it makes it just impossible to try to race behind them if you're not able to get. Oh, look, you can see that route is nasty, man. And the reason why they keep running into it, if we see the water running back in, it fills it up and they can't see it. There's that nice rut around the outside, but that one to the inside looks so much shorter and better until it fills up with water, and then you're not able to see it, and it becomes a real challenge.
There we go. I'm trying to circle it on my screen right here. Well, don't have that hooked up quite yet, but you can see it at this point. It's that one.
Yeah, and you can see the angle that it's on is perfect just to pop those riders up and out of there and give them some trouble.
Well, we talked about how slick those routes were yesterday, especially a little bit. Now, that rider was carrying some heavy speed, but especially if you're kind of just creeping up to it, very easy to get caught on that thing. We saw another rider just spinning out. So, and it's really not that big, not that intimidating looking, but it's the simple things that'll get you here at Big Bog.
Some riders carrying some speed here.
Yeah.
Possibly one of our amateurs of Amancio there from the looks of it.
Oh, gosh, that is just getting so brutal there.
Plowing into that thing.
It's only going to get worse, too. Definitely some different lines need to be took by some of these guys next time through.
Well, and I can just tell you right now, if you're exhausted, if you've been riding for the last 2 hours and that thing catches you off guard,
guys,
going to be fun.
Worth pointing out, we're looking at our top 20 running order here. But since we saw our leader, our physical leader, Jordan Ashburn, come through, we've talked about a lot on screen. We've had some interviews. A lot of time has passed. We've still only had 15 riders check in on the lead lap with 4 laps complete, even though these riders are now 3-4 mile marker. They're approaching almost the halfway point of their 5th lap. That shows you just how strung out this pack is going. We'll run it down for you. Top 15 on screen as they run there. Obviously, Nick DeFeo on an XC2 class leading the overall. Jordan Ashburn in the number 2 spot. Johnny Gerard 3rd. Cooper Jones still sitting in that number 4 spot. And if we look at the elapsed time, he is now about 57 seconds out of the 3rd place position overall behind Gerard. So still in a great spot, but if he wants to get on that overall podium, he's going to need to find something in these last 2 laps of racing. Just behind him are obviously Mike Wachowski, Liam Draper, Stu Baylor, Ryder Lafferty, Jason Tino, Gus Reardon, Ben Kelly, Craig DeLong, Thad Duvall, Jay Lipscomb, and Jack Walker. Still only 15 riders checked in. So what you're seeing there, the 16 through 20, that was last lap. When these guys check in, we'll get you updates and see if anything has changed. And it looks like now Cole Whitmer has checked in out of that open A class. He is your class leader, and he is in that 16th spot overall. Still quite a ways behind Cooper Jones, but has himself in position to be on that overall amateur podium here at the end of this one in about 2 more laps. Looked like that was possibly DeFeo.
I think it was, and just before that, we saw Gerard make his way through, and he has closed in on that gap up to Jordan Ashburn. So your top 3 starting to get closer and closer on track physically, and you could read the body language on that one.
No doubt. The route claims another one.
And that machine looking like it is equally as frustrated.
For what it's worth, buddy, you're doing better than I would.
Oh, yeah. You can see
he's holding it together, yeah.
At some point, you just throw your hands up and say.
Me and Zach's been saying it all day. If you want to get some announcing time in, right in front of one of our cameras.
But it's true. We can't see his number, though. Can't give him any love.
Like, one of the mud fleas finally gonna be like, dude, let me get you out of this rut. This is your problem here.
Possibly one of the beta team members.
It looks like Josh Strang.
It does.
That is Josh Strang. Josh Strang out in the woods, obviously having some issues, not able to finish today, and he's out there helping the team and helping some riders. He's got the rain slicker on, and he's a big help to that rider. I'm sure that guy looked up and said, hey, you're Josh Strang. Yeah,
so flash forwarding. Well, yeah, we just saw Strang. He was out and about. Looks like taking the racer helmet off and putting the team manager hat back on. And we were able to catch up with the number 7, talking about his roles outside of being a racer and being the manager of that Liqui Moly Factory Beta team.
Yeah, so
2026 is the second year for me racing the 480 beta and also managing the team. And for me, last year the expectation was to finish races and prove that the brand is competitive. And with Jack doing the NEPG and the GNCC, he did a good job on the 252 stroke, and for me just doing the GNCC here on the 480. It's always hard to switch to a new brand and then come into a season where some guys are settled on their equipment. So to get to get used to the bike, it just took a little while, and then the last 3 or 4 races after the summer break, everything kind of started clicking, and the results started clicking off.
Man, and Josh Strang, an absolute professional, both in his racing career and the way he's approaching this team manager role. But specifically talking about the racing career, we were able to talk to Josh a little bit about maybe the curtains coming to a close here for the racing career. Send things back to Josh Strang.
I don't know. You never say the last, right? Never say the last. But 20 years, I'll be 38 this year. I just don't know. I have such a good gig here with them, getting ready to move into the management full time, that unless I went out and did something crazy like win a championship or win a bunch of races, then I think I'm happy. You know, it'd be different if they were making me do it, you know, and I didn't want to do it. But it's completely the opposite. It's like they wanted me to manage. And I'm like, well, I had a good year last year. I want to race. Let me race until I'm no use anymore. But right now, I believe I'm still good for the brand, and I can talk to that 40-year-old guy that an 18-year-old kid who's on a team can't. You know, so I have connections there, and yeah, we can just conversate about. Doesn't even have to be about dirt bikes. You know, a potential customer walking by, we're talking about the color of the sky, and maybe the way mid to late 30s guy talks about it instead of the 19-year-old kid. You know, maybe that resonates with them, and they're like, when they want to go buy the dirt bike, they go down to the dealership and buy a beta, and that's what it's all about. I wish I could have won more races. Well, there's still a chance. But you know, over the last 20 years, I wish there was more race wins on my shelf, but there isn't. And I believe I've made myself marketable as myself and as a rider, and I can do that. I can sell the product, sell the brand, and in the end, that's what we're here doing. We're racing, and dirt bike racing is we're advertising for a company, for a brand.
Man, great stuff there from Josh Strang, and he makes such a good point. He is such a great ambassador. Obviously, his kids are out and about. We see them STACYC racing and now moving into some of our micro races as well. And he's talked about it before off camera, even just the two of us talking. And the environment, the family atmosphere of GNCC is something that he wants to see continue to flourish, and wants to help be a part of that. And that Liqui Moly Factory Beta team really seems to be a home that he feels comfortable at. So we're hoping that it's not the end. We're hoping that he does just that and rattle off some wins, and we continue to see Josh Strang out on the XC1 Open Pro line. But I think the biggest thing is, I think we're all very glad to hear that Josh Strang, whether he's racing or not, he's still going to be around.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Josh has a very marketable set of skills, both as a racer and, as he said, a brand ambassador and team manager, to be able to impart some of that knowledge that he's gained during his 20-year career and be able to pass that down to younger riders on his team. It's huge. I mean, it's something you can't buy. You know, you can try to teach it, but the best way to learn it is to go out and do it. But when you're hearing it from a guy like Josh Strang, who, like you said, he talks about wanting to have more race wins, but he does have a GNCC title, and that's a very short list of people that do have that. There we see Nick DeFeo on screen, 246 T-Rex coming by at the 7-mile marker there. Opposite end of the spectrum from Josh Strang. Josh Strang, 38 years old, near the end of his career. Nick DeFeo just getting his career rolling, but looking to potentially add a second win in just 2 attempts here at Big Buck since he moved up to that XC2 class. Was a rookie in that XC2 class last year when he got it done, and looking to potentially back it up and say, hey, this is my house. You guys want to win Big Buck, you got to come through me, especially if it's raining.
Yeah, we heard Brock Glover talking about sometimes you just pull into the property and you can just feel it. You can just know, hey, I've had the results. I think we were all almost astonished. It's hard to make the announcer speechless, but that's just about what he did last year. And now we see him able to almost repeat it as he continues to try to chase down Ashburn and Girard for potentially a physical overall win, not just on adjusted time. So going to be exciting to see what DeFeo is able to do in these closing laps with just about a lap and a half or so to go.
Yeah, no doubt. And seeing this track really start to get beat up now, especially right here at this mile 7 mark.
Yeah, seeing some of those rollers, but it's starting to dig out. And we talked about this as well, Johnny. It's how long is it going to last before things start to get rutted up? I was honestly even surprised right after the finish line, that big, long, deep rut. And now we're really starting to see the rain looks like continuing to hold off for the most part. So things thickening up just a little bit in the finale of this race.
Yeah, and the track is continuing. It's a living, breathing organism. It's continuing to evolve. It's continuing to develop. We see a couple of lines here, and looks like Liam Draper taking the high line, and just behind him looks like maybe Witkowski there taking that line to the right, and then Stu Baylor giving chase. So these guys are all battling for position and putting themselves to try to get a little closer to that top 3. That is 5th, 6th, and 7th overall as they run. We did see in our last camera shot at the 6-mile marker, Cooper Jones coming by. Looks like he may have given up a little bit of time, but he does still have a point or a corrected time cushion on some of those riders that are well ahead of him on the track. So that's a unique situation. We always have to wait until he actually physically comes in and checks in. Right now, he's got near a minute he needs to make up if he wants to get back on that overall podium. But if you're a Cooper Jones fan, or if you're Cooper Jones yourself, I don't see how you can see anything wrong with this ride so far. I mean, to have himself in position. Now we see Ben Kelly coming through there on the big number 1 KTM, and just behind him, Craig DeLong on that 342 machine. We saw him a little further up front before, but he had that crash right in front of our Racer TV camera, and it looks like he's rebounded from that, latched onto the back of Ben Kelly, and those two are pushing the pace. Coming here soon, we should see Jason Tino and Gus Reardon. Looks like that was not Tino, I do not believe. There is Reardon right there. So that is, that may have been Tino. Looked way too tall to me to be Tino. Tino's a little guy, but it is possible. Nope, that's Tino right there. So there is Jason Tino there in the, look to be anyway. Now it looks like Reardon has gotten around him for that number 2 spot in that XC2 class, Jackson.
Yeah, it does. Taking a look here at the mile 7, waiting for the rest of the crew to make their way by. And like we were saying, Johnny, things starting to get a lot more separated than what we saw at the beginning of this one.
Yeah, it was only 2 seconds separating them at the finish line, although they are 2 minutes and 43 seconds behind.
Hold on, Johnny. Is this him? Is that Tino now making his way through? So hard to tell. It was hard for me to tell on the other one. I didn't remember seeing him with the neon goggles on.
Yeah, that may have been Tino there. You may be right. Hard to tell when they're all brown, but I do think that Gus Reardon has made that pass and now gotten into the number 2 spot. If either of those riders were in fact Tino,
yes,
because he was 2 seconds behind him when they checked in with 4 laps complete about 7 miles ago. And looking at the lap times, Gus was running about 20 seconds faster on that previous lap than Jason Tino. So it looks like Reardon starting to pick up steam. Jason Tino still sitting in a podium position, but it's really coming down to it, and we're getting down near the end here, Jackson.
We sure are. Just a little bit more to go. Next time they make their way through the finish line, we should expect a white flag in the hands of Mr. Ricky Towery. The 2026 GNCC season has begun. No better way to start it off than right here at the VP Racing Big Buck GNCC in Union, South Carolina. And some of the South Carolina boys having themselves a good day, including Nick DeFeo, the Myrtle Beach, South Carolina native, having himself quite the day. Somebody that's not having the day that he wants is the guy on screen right now. Caleb Russell going to be out of this race, as is Josh Strang. Zach, what a day.
Man, you want to talk about how brutal are GNCC racers? It doesn't get much more gnarly than that. Unfortunately, Caleb Russell, Grant Davis, and a few others having to retire early. Craig DeLong having some issues a little later in the race, but he's back up and rolling. White flag getting ready to come out, boys. It's just about time to find out how the opening round's going to get wrapped up. We'll get a commercial break, and we'll come back with more VP Racing Fuel's Big Buck GNCC here on Racer TV.
Hey, race fans. Gear Bicycles is on hand today with the all-new Gen 4 Specialized Levo. They also have great deals on Gen 3 Levos and used bikes. Stop by their booth and see for yourself how fun it could be riding around these GNCC hills. Gear Bicycles is sponsored by Progressive. When you stop by their booth, you can find out why it's important to insure your e-bike, dirt bike, ATV, or RV. Once again, thanks for being here today, and enjoy your day.
We've been there since the very beginning.
20 laps, the main event, the mud, the blood, the beer.
Organizing the industry and building champions. "100 years of defending your rights to ride into the future."
Community, family, teamwork. It's what we have stood on for over a decade. Hauling might be what we do at the surface, but it's much deeper than that, because what you need matters. When you need a haul, give us a call at 724-852-4488. For 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year, we at JD Enterprises are prepared to serve you.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to round one of the 2026 Progressive GNCC Racing Series. The VP Racing Fuels Big Buck GNCC. And we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. Ricky Towery still holding that two-lap card out, but we know it should be flipping to a white flag here in just a few minutes. The final lap of racing going to be underway, and T-Rex, as we like to call him, Nick DeFeo on that Rocky Mountain Red Bear Kawasaki, trying to get it done once again after making history last year, being, I believe, the first rider to ever physically beat the entire XC1 field out of the XC2 class. He did it by almost over a minute. That one's going to be a hard thing to match here in 2026, but I don't know if physically beating the rest of the field is going to be impossible. Last camera shot that we had of them, Jordan Ashburn was out front still leading the way now on that Phoenix Racing Honda. Johnny Gerard had started to track him down on the KTM, but Nick DeFeo was tagging along and starting to close the gap up as well. One thing's for sure, it's going to be a fun final lap for us here on Racer TV.
Yeah, absolutely. It's coming right down to the wire, and we're not sure what's going to happen, especially with these conditions, but we do know that those three are all charging very hard, knowing that the win is within their grasp. The time gap's not at all too large for any of those riders to cross, or for Nick DeFeo to continue to stretch out. So it's going to be exciting to see when they come in. Again, we know they should be working their way towards that VP Fuels Pro Row here in just a matter of a few moments, and then from there just a short jump over to the finish line for a white flag in the hands of Ricky Towery. We're going to find out then.
And I want to give a big shout out to Cooper Jones out of that A class as well. Still running inside the top 5 overall, was up inside the top 3 after leading the overall for a couple of laps as well. Like you said earlier, Johnny, got to think at the end of the day you're taking away nothing but positives from this, looking at top amateur and grabbing a class win. But we're still not writing anything out. We still got a whole nother lap of racing to go. Anything possible. Jones just could find himself on the overall podium.
Yeah, I mean, could be on the overall podium. Heck, he could still get a win. I mean, the conditions are tough out there. Anything could happen. Looks like we talked about, again, his lap time was considerably off the riders ahead of him. They were all in the 29s, the lower 29s, with the exception of Ashburn, who was a 29.49, and Cooper Jones was a 31.03. So he was about upwards of a minute and a half off of those riders on just that last lap alone. But what's a good lap for one rider could turn into a bad lap the next. We could see him coming in the 29s and those guys in the 31s, and next thing you know, Cooper's not only back on the overall podium, but in the lead.
No doubt. Don't know if we've talked about it yet, but I did see Grant Baylor packed up, so it looks like he's going to be out of this one.
Yeah, he was out a few laps ago. Obviously, Grant Baylor out, Josh Strang out, Caleb Russell out.
Grant Davis.
Grant Davis.
Both of them.
No, Grant Baylor's out as well. I saw Grant Davis, Grant Baylor. Saw both those guys packed up and on their way out of the property. So not the start to the season those guys are looking for, but we see a long list of 20 riders that are probably a lot happier to be on the screen than loaded up and headed home, especially in these tough conditions.
And one thing maybe a little hard to tell on the Racer TV cameras, the rain, at least for the moment, has continued to stop. So we'll see how that develops. The racetrack is, we talked about things being a little bit more paint-like, a little more liquidy, but definitely going to start to thicken up. Is getting some news from OPAG. It sounds like some of our spotters out there saying it might be the number 80 of Johnny Gerard now taking over the physical lead. We saw him cutting into that gap from Jordan Ashburn, and he had definitely cut it almost in half last we saw. We know Johnny's strong late in these races. We know he wants to show what he's capable of, and Johnny Running Deer running to the front right now.
Yeah, Johnny Running Deer 27 seconds faster than Jordan Ashburn on that previous lap of racing. So, again, if he keeps up that pace, he's going to close up the gap. He was only 21 seconds behind. So, again, at that pace, they would come together on this lap if they both stayed the same, and Gerard would be able to take over the overall physical lead. Now, would that translate to a time correction lead? He would need about another 15 seconds on top of that. Actually about another 35 seconds on top of that is what it would take for him to eclipse Nick DeFeo and be the fastest rider.
Watch this on your screen. This guy's going to go, oh, wait a second, that's a bottomless pit. Oh! Derek Garcia just staring, not going to help. Thanks, Derek. That was impressive. He literally just pulled that thing up 12 o'clock, never let off the throttle, and popped right out of the hole. That's impressive. And that's what we were talking about. Brock Glover said, I saw that on lap 1 and knew by about lap 5 that thing's going to be almost impassable.
And it is. It definitely is. But
when it's filled with water, though, you can't see it. I mean, it looks like a perfectly good line.
Well, we saw a guy cut way from the outside. Said, oh, wait, why are we not taking this inside? Oh, now I see. Now I understand. Now I'm swimming.
Yeah, he didn't quite make it through as easy as that rider did, no doubt. But going back to Johnny Gerard, this is what we've been expecting from Johnny Gerard. This is peak Johnny Gerard that we saw just a couple seasons ago.
Well, and you think about Johnny Gerard grabbing the championship, not last year, but the year before. And a lot of people talk about the championship hangover, the pressure of running the number 1. And it's hard to say whether that's even what happened to Johnny in the season. He had some solid results. He showed some speed, grabbing a win. Him and Caleb Russell having a battle to the death almost at round 2 down in Florida. They left it all out on the track. And then just seemed like Johnny had some big get-offs, had some things not go his way, and he just couldn't get the ball rolling once again. And so, absolutely, we know Johnny Gerard a title threat. We know he's more than capable of getting it done, not just at one race, but at the entire season. And, man, got to be a pretty unique dynamic underneath that KTM tent as well. You think about it, Ben Kelly and Grant Davis going toe-to-toe for the overall championship, both of them grabbing XC1 and XC2 championships last year. And then the year before, it was Johnny Gerard as the man to beat. And so, a lot of expectation, a lot of pressure probably underneath that KTM rig, as all 3 of those riders don't just feel like they can grab wins. They should be the champ.
Yeah, no doubt. They got the 2025 champ, the 2024, and then the runner-up in 2025. Yeah, that's as stacked as it gets.
You know what they say, even if you can't win, you want to finish ahead of your teammate. Well, when you got a roster like that, it's hard to not win and beat your teammates. So Jordan Ashburn on screen, coming through and looking like right on his rear wheel is the number 80 of Johnny Running Deer from that factory KTM team. White flag waving from Ricky Towery, meaning one more lap around this very, very challenging big buck racetrack, and Gerard is there. Will this push the pace? Will they be able to open up enough of a time gap? No goggles for Gerard, though, and chasing Ashburn, who you can see does have goggles on, so advantage Ashburn in that aspect. If Johnny Gerard wants to make a move, he needs to do it soon, because he can't just sit back there and eat that roost. It will prove too costly for his vision.
Yeah, as we've seen, definitely not the move running no goggles, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and we know Johnny Gerard, one of those riders that's willing to risk it for the biscuit. He wants this win, and the question is, how far is he willing to push to try to bring things home? As now we flash back to the spot where they pop out of the woods and we wait for what we believe will be Nick DeFeo.
I'll tell you what, a lot of time has passed.
Yeah.
It looks like we have not seen DeFeo yet. He has not checked in. This may be the difference, folks. Looks like that may be DeFeo on screen. Nope, not him there. That is not yet DeFeo. This rider's moving pretty quickly. There he is, the 246 of DeFeo. You can see him pulling tear-offs, and he is absolutely charging. Folks, I don't know if he's done enough. He may have given up this overall lead. It's going to be very close. He'll be checked in here in just a matter of one more corner.
So T-Rex going to have the last lap of a lifetime. Refresh, and
Nick DeFeo, third overall.
Wow.
So both Jordan Ashburn and Johnny Gerard have now put enough time into Nick DeFeo that they continue to hold him off for that overall. He is still on the overall podium, but looking at a lap's time, yeah, he is about, let's see, he's 15 seconds behind Johnny Gerard, and that would make him about 17 seconds behind your overall leader, Jordan Ashburn. So still not a bridge too far to cross. Definitely if he can put in a solid lap, he can put himself in position to repeat last year's performance. But looking at the lap times, yeah, he was near a minute slower than both Ashburn and Gerard with it. Well, definitely he was over a minute slower than Gerard. Johnny Gerard with a 29.25. Nick DeFeo with a 30.39. So yeah, big time gap there that Johnny Gerard was able to make up to put himself ahead of Nick DeFeo in the running order.
Yeah, got to wonder if maybe there was a mistake, something we weren't able to catch on camera, because DeFeo, I don't believe it hit the 30s all race long. But if you're Dick DeFeo, you're hoping that Johnny Gerard and Jordan Ashburn are going to get together. They're going to start a little cat and mouse game, slow themselves down. But we also know the team's letting them know you're not just in a battle with the guy you're seeing right next to you. You've also got that kid, Nick DeFeo, trying to track you down on a lapse time. So both of these riders, champions in the XC1 class, they know how important that adjusted time is. And this was a big talking point pretty much the entire first half of the season, if not the whole year last year. Can't forget about the elapsed time. They talk time and time again about how hard it is to race the clock while also racing each other. There it is, Jordan Ashburn and Johnny Gerard going at it.
Yeah, 1 mile into this one, and they are still basically wheel to wheel. Stu Baylor now checked in that fourth spot overall, trying to track down his teammate and XC2 rider Nick DeFeo ahead of him on track, but he is 2 minutes and 35 seconds behind Johnny Gerard, making him would be the third spot on the podium in the XC1 class, but would be bumped off as they run right now the overall podium by his teammate Nick DeFeo. You know, another thing, DeFeo, you could look at it as that rough lap time took him out of the lead. He had a little bit of a cushion there for the overall, and now he's got a time gap to make up. But at the same time, he is still in a commanding position to win that XC2 class.
Absolutely.
And what a way to start the season. Last lap, 2 minutes and 43 seconds was his gap over Jason Tino, which we believe most likely will be Gus Reardon. And just like that, Gus Reardon checks in now 2 minutes and 2 seconds behind, and in that number 4 spot, he actually bumps Stu Baylor back even one more spot, and Ryder Lafferty has checked in as well. Craig DeLong has checked in, Mike Wachowski has checked in, and Ben Kelly has checked in. So we now have 9 riders checked in through the white flag for what will be the last lap of racing.
So there it is. Man, this is going to be a barn burner to finish this one out. No better way to start out a new season of progressive GNCC racing.
So hanging here at the finish line. Woo, talk about some slideways. He had the skis out and everything. That was a good save for that rider, making their way through.
Cooper Jones going to check in the 6th place spot. Ryder Lafferty checking in now in 7th on the overall charts, just ahead of Craig DeLong and Mike Wachowski.
Got to give some props to Ryder Lafferty. I feel like he's been flying under the radar. We've talked about a lot of other people with some flashes of brilliance and then falling back. He's currently in front of Craig DeLong, but Lafferty been running inside that top 7 kind of quietly all race long.
Yep, and Liam Draper has now checked in also in the number 11 spot overall. We're waiting on the rest of our XC2 and some more of our XC1. Jason Tino has not checked in, so confirmed what we saw on screen there a lap ago, Jackson. That was Gus Reardon that had made the pass. He is now 2nd place in that XC2 class and 4th overall. So looking to back up last year's great ride, he's in position to do it again. If you look at a lapse time, though, you know, he is not only 2 minutes and 2 seconds off of his XC2 competitor Nick DeFeo. That would be also to get on the overall podium. So at this point, he needs to make up over 2 minutes to put himself in position for an overall podium on this last lap of racing.
So there it is, staying here at the mile 1 mark.
Man, you can see how greasy things are starting to get. A couple of those riders getting absolutely sideways through as Looks like that's Baylor making his way through up on the pegs. But a lot of the standing water and kind of the slop on top has been splashed out, and it reveals that hard South Carolina clay underneath. And don't forget, we talked about it a fair amount yesterday, but there are a sneaky amount of rocks in this clay as well, and they can reach up. And when they're locked in there, especially in that hard base, they're not going to move. There's a better chance they're going to pick your tire up and spit you on the ground. So these riders still plenty to deal with, and things starting to get chewed up and deeper as well. We're seeing a lot of the skis getting broken out.
Craig DeLong.
Maybe. Couldn't quite tell. Didn't look quite like the handguards of DeLong, but definitely one of our lead riders.
Was that Lafferty, maybe?
Might have been.
Guys, I just made a buck for saying Jordan likes the mud on Racer TV. David Quillen used to say it was $1 every time we could work it into the show. I just got $1 Apple Cash. So Jordan liking the mud, liking the race today, out front, leading the way with less than a lap of remaining racing, but he does have some heavy pressure from behind in the form of our 2024 series champion on that number 80 Red Bull FMF KTM, Johnny Girard, right on his rear wheel.
Well, he's liking the mud, he's liking the conditions, and liking that Honda as well. Now, we spent a lot of time in the super motocross world talking about the way the bikes react and stuff like this. Johnny, is it as noticeable in conditions like this? We talk about the flex, the different kinds of frames, stuff like that. It definitely seems like Ashburn's riding style suiting that Honda very well, but how big are the differences that maybe we focus a little more on in the motocross world, as that looks like
Cooper Jones.
That's Cooper Jones making his way through.
Overall, an overall amateur leader with a big gap on the next top amateur rider, which is Cole Whitmer out of that Open A class.
But as compared to the off-road world?
Yeah, it's depending on the rider, they would tell you a completely different story. Some riders would say that they really don't notice the bike as much in the mud. It just kind of becomes kind of a survival of the fittest kind of thing. But I know, some other riders that would say, hey, I really like this bike in dry, rough conditions, and it works really well. But when I get in the mud, I just can't ride it. So I think a lot just depends on the individual rider. But I will say that I feel like as a general blanket statement, bike setup, much less importance, and perfection with the bike setup, much less important in conditions like this. It really just becomes, good riding technique, keeping yourself in a good position, unless there's something so unreasonable about the bike that it's just, too powerful, or you can't get it to hook up or something like that, then it becomes an issue. But suspension and fine-tuning adjustments, just not as important in the mud.
Well, and that's another big thing. We talk about Jordan's relationship with the mud, a little bit more of the hard enduro technical style. We see this guy up on the pegs, always so technically sound, and that clearly plays into his strengths when conditions get like this. A lot of guys putting the skis out, whereas Jordan, he stays locked on that frame, he keeps himself upright, really just seems like he sticks to the foundational basics, and it works well for him.
Yeah, and he has a very sound riding style. And actually, you mentioned hard enduro. Jordan has done quite well in some hard enduro stuff over the years. A few years ago when he was riding for that Babbitt's Kawasaki team, he actually went out and took a KDX 200 out and raced TKO on it and did pretty well. So he does well, and just like that, like clockwork, comes through, still leading the way, but Johnny Girard still giving chase there just behind him. Still no goggles for Girard, so he's close enough to make a move, but he just does not seem to be able to make it stick right now. But we still have about 8 more miles before we'll see these guys approaching the finish line, so plenty of track left to get the job done if you're Johnny Girard, and plenty of track to have to still defend if you're Jordan Ashburn.
I have so much respect for Johnny Girard. He is an absolute madman. He is one of the people that I truly think can just push it all out and do what he has to do in these races.
Well, and I think back to, like I said, Wild Boar a year ago when him and Caleb Russell went all the way down to the line, and it was one of those things where he even said in his interview, he was like, I just stopped thinking. I just started to almost go animalistic and just focus on what I'm trying to do. Didn't care what it took. And I was going to ask you, Johnny, not necessarily what you recommend that somebody would do, but if you're Johnny Girard, you're a bike length or two away from Jordan Ashburn, do we think he's stopping to take goggles?
I mean, I think if he had the opportunity, if it were me, yes, I would recommend that he would. I think it would give him more opportunities to be able to stay closer to Jordan without risking getting something in the eyes. Because eventually, again, like we mentioned earlier in the race with Caleb Russell, and we've seen so many times, it becomes an involuntary body.
Yes,
your reaction
protection,
closes the eyes. If you get enough stuff in there, there's nothing you can do about it. It's not you saying, well, I just don't want to do this anymore. My eyes hurt. You physically cannot open them, unfortunately. And it's honestly, it's scary too. The first time it happens to you, because you're wondering, like, to yourself, like, am I blind now? Like, why can't I see? You know, and you know that your eyelids are closed, but you're saying, like, open your eyes, and you're trying, and your body just, it won't let you do it. It's a defense mechanism. So my advice would be get goggles, but Johnny Girard's a savage, and I think at this point all he sees is red, and that is the red rear fender of Jordan Ashburn, and he wants this win. Johnny Girard coming off, let's face it, aside from Florida last year, an absolute disaster of a 2025 season. So if he has the opportunity to open up this season with the win, I think he's all in, and I think he's going to go for it. I still would recommend he stop for goggles, but I don't think he's going to.
I've got to imagine it's somewhat like probably much less painful, but when you're waking up from sleep, somebody just turns all the lights on and you can't open your eyes even when you try it. They just force it shut. Like I said, probably a bit more painful, but it is interesting when conditions like this, we talk about pushing not just the machines, but the bodies to the limits as well. We saw several people in those pit stops trying to get some nutrition in. Brock Glover was even talking about how depleting these conditions can be, trying to stay on top of it. Even something as simple as trying to keep yourself warm in these conditions, it starts to wear out on the body.
Guys, if a few bikes ago, if that was Nick DeFeo, which I think it was, then he has closed up maybe possibly a little bit of ground here.
Well, that would be good if you're a DeFeo fan, because he needs to make up quite a bit of time to get back to these two. But right now they are pushing the pace, and Johnny Girard continuing to just live in that roost zone off that MX-14 rear tire of Jordan Ashburn there. And he's taking it and making it work. But, man, that's got to be just, he's ducking the visor, he's doing everything he can. But Jordan Ashburn is making it very difficult for Johnny Girard to even get close, let alone be in a position to make a pass. We'll see if maybe we can communicate with OPAG to see if we can get a time gap here at this camera at the 6 mile marker and see what it is back to Nick DeFeo and relay that to what the gap was last lap and see if he's close enough to potentially put himself back in position for this overall win. As they ran on a lap's time, you guys can keep watching the screen there, he would have needed to make up about, again, would have been to Jordan, or to Johnny Girard specifically, he would have needed to make up 16 seconds is what he was behind Girard, and that would be another 2, so just about 18 seconds to Jordan Ashburn to put himself in position to be back in that overall lead.
Well, we've been talking about the hunters right now, which is Nick DeFeo and Johnny Girard, but the hunted at the moment, Jordan Ashburn, as always, staying cool and calm under pressure. He is hitting his marks. We don't see him taking any crazy different lines. He's sticking to what he knows. This is what makes Jordan so difficult, is you just can't seem to rattle the guy.
You talk to any of the XC1 riders, and they'll say the hardest rider to pass on the track is Jordan Ashburn. And nobody really accuses him of being dirty or blocking or anything. It's just, they may say blocking, but it's racing, man. I mean, it's his line. If you want around him, he's not going to pull over and make it easy for you. And he is just so mentally strong. He doesn't allow himself to get rattled. Somebody shows him a wheel, he just keeps riding his line, closes that line off. And he's been at this game a long time. He's very confident. He's a former series champion, multi-time race winner. He's not going to make it easy on Johnny Girard, that's for sure.
I do want to correct myself. That was not Nick DeFeo that we caught in that other shot. Hey, but a shout out to them. They're looking good for the few sections there.
Hey, if we could think you were Nick DeFeo, you must be doing good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Man, showing just how challenging these sections are. We see our XC1 and our top riders rolling through these sections, feet on the pegs, hammer down, and then we see the leg out. We see the handguards nearly falling off. Now that looks to be Nick DeFeo.
Yes.
No, that may be, is that?
From the visor.
Yep, it is. I thought it was Skinny Stu for a minute, but it's definitely Nick.
I know, it's been hard to tell. He's going to have to go from Baylor Heavy to Baylor Light.
That's another Kawasaki rider that kind of looks like Nick DeFeo right behind him. I thought we were seeing double for a minute, but maybe another one of those Red Bear Rocky Mountain ATV MC Kawasaki.
There is. So Stu Baylor's on the charge. If that was DeFeo we just caught, Baylor's tracking him down. The boss is coming.
Baylor Light going for it.
Yeah, 2 minutes and 35 seconds behind Johnny Girard when they checked in, and it seems to be maybe a little bit less than that. So Stu Baylor definitely looking like he is, in fact, on the charge. Look at this. Johnny Girard. Did we miss Jordan Ashburn? Or do we have a new leader?
Look at that.
There is Ashburn. Johnny Girard to the point position. He's taken over the lead with just a few miles remaining. Looks like Jordan Ashburn may have had a crash by the amount of time that he had lost there. But Johnny Girard is hammered down, and Johnny Running Deer is out front and putting himself in position to grab the first win of 2026 here at Big Buck.
Could Running Deer be the Big Buck? That's the question. Oh. See the connection? See what I'm getting at?
That's good. I like that.
So how about it? We wondered how long he would continue to apply that close of pressure with no goggles on, and clearly it was just long enough, as either a mistake from Ashburn or an opportunity for Girard puts the KTM rider in the #1 spot.
Yeah, the Madman is on the move. That could be the pass for this race win. No doubt about it. And it's still not over, though. No. You got somebody like Jordan Ashburn behind you. Jordan loves the mud. Jordan loves a tough challenge. He loves a rocky section as well. We've talked about the rocks here all weekend. He's probably the best rock rider we have here, and so.
Hey, let's get right. It's Jordan likes the mud. No one says Jordan loves the mud.
Oh, okay.
Now, if he wins today, Jordan may start to love the mud.
I would say so.
All right, Jordan Ashburn into that #2 spot. Johnny Girard making the pass. He is now out front leading the way with a several-second gap over Ashburn there in the #2 spot. Still running in third, Nick DeFeo, but he's getting close to being tracked down by his teammate, Stu Baylor. He would have to pass him and put a substantial amount of time on him, though, if he wants to bump DeFeo off that overall podium. And actually, well, that is interesting the way that plays out there, because according to this, wow, yeah, that was not 2 minutes. So Reardon, just looking and doing some math here, Reardon was 2 minutes and 2 seconds behind DeFeo, but jumped Stu Baylor in the overall running order, meaning that, so Baylor may get to the point where he's now ahead of Reardon, moving him up to 4th in the overall, but he would still need to make up quite a bit of time to get to the back of DeFeo and put a bunch of time on him to be able to bump him off the podium as well.
Well, and as we have kind of seen like DeFeo starting to fall off the pace a little bit and a bit quicker than I was expecting, at least, you also got to start thinking about the machines, whether or not there's starting to be some problems for the Kawasaki rider. Potentially ingested some water into the machine and is just trying to get this thing to the finish, because at the end of the day, yes, an overall win, an overall podium would be great, but he also, top priority, got to be that XC2 class win.
Nick DeFeo on screen there. That is your XC2 leader and third place in the overall. Looking to back up a stellar performance here 1 year ago. Led quite a bit of this one, giving up the overall lead on corrected time. But look at it, Stu Baylor continuing to charge. He is now almost to the rear wheel of DeFeo. Surely in the more open sections of racetrack, he can see him above or ahead of him. But again, he would need to pass him, and in just a few miles, he would need to put 1 full minute on Nick DeFeo if he wants to knock his teammate off the podium and grab that third spot on the overall podium.
Can you give team orders mid-race as you're passing your rider? I don't know how that works.
I don't think Nick DeFeo is going to listen to those team orders if they include slowing down to allow. Oh, look at this. Looks like it maybe. Is that Craig DeLong?
Looks like DeLong, yeah.
DeLong on a charge. So he's made quite a few passes and moved up in the running order. He was all the way down in that #8 spot. So he has gotten around Ryder Lafferty. Will he be able to do enough to get back around Cooper Jones on corrected time? Looking at the elapsed time, he was about 30 seconds behind Jones, so he may be able to pick up another spot in that overall. That looked like it possibly could have been Ryder Lafferty there, and that looks to be Gus Reardon. That is your 4th place rider in the overall and 2nd place in that XC2. So although he's charging, he still has quite a bit of time to make up. Doesn't look like he's going to have enough time left to try to get to that XC2 leader of Nick DeFeo. Now here comes Wachowski just behind Draper. So it looks like Draper has, I did not see, did you see Ben Kelly?
I did not. That's what I was just thinking.
So it looks like Draper has gotten around Kelly, gotten around Wachowski, and picked up a couple of positions, and it did not see Ben Kelly come through here at the 7-mile mark.
There was one rider I couldn't make out who they were at all, so there's a chance. But
I looked away because I was looking at timing to see, but I did. That looks like potentially.
Yeah, I believe OPAG chiming in. I believe that might have been.
There's Ben Kelly right there.
Kelly. Okay, got the handguard flopping too.
Yep. So yeah, he definitely gave up several spots there. Would put him back in about that number 11 spot overall.
Man, I'm excited to see the fight still out of Craig DeLong as well. I was kind of curious to see what kind of response we'd have after he found himself on the ground. Had such a solid start to the ride, but took quite a few seconds in that pit stop, and looks like that was time well spent. And he is back on the charge and picked up a couple spots coming into that checkered flag.
Yeah, this one coming down to the nitty-gritty right now, and Johnny Girard has put in a heroic performance these final 2 laps of racing, riding his way up from outside the top 5 overall, putting himself on the overall podium, then being able to get around. There is Cooper Jones. So that bike really looked like it was not just steaming, but smoking, possibly some oil smoke there, but he's only got a few miles to make it to the finish line. Hopefully keep that thing together and keep himself in position to be our 250A class winner and a top 10 overall and overall amateur. That would be a great day for Cooper Jones. But yeah, I mean, Johnny Gerard has been the story of the last couple laps here. I mean, he's been charging. He's made the moves at the right time. He made up a bunch of time. He's set very fast laps, and now he's getting it done. Maybe it's the earring.
Maybe. You think he's rocking it right now?
I don't think he could be. You never know, though. We'll have to ask him on the podium.
I definitely intend to. I want it on the podium, nonetheless.
Wait, we watch here at the 7-mile marker. We should get a few more shots of these riders before they make it to the finish line and see, is Johnny Gerard still out front? Has Jordan Ashburn been able to track him back down after losing the lead somewhere between the 6 and 7-mile marker on this last lap of racing? Looks like Jason Tino, to me, there it is. There is the 226 of Jason Tino, which is third place in that XC2 class. That'll surely be a welcome result for him after missing almost the entirety of the 2025 season with that knee injury, missing out on the opportunity to go represent the United States at ISDE. You know, he was super bummed about that, but what a better way to come back to GNCC racing after a long time away than put yourself on that XC2 podium. That'll be a happy young man right there.
Yeah, absolutely, and well-deserved. I messaged Jason when he got hurt and talked to him about being back, and just so grateful to be back. And I think that's a powerful thing as well, the hunger to be back racing, and Tino a point to prove, and proving it right now. I think the big thing is it's also so exciting that it's round one. We've got so many riders with some flashes of brilliance, some riders that clearly look like they have the speed, they've got the intensity, but maybe just some bad luck here at round one. So as if you couldn't be more excited about the 51st year of GNCC racing. The depth of the field, I believe that was my word of the day yesterday. I'm bringing it back here today. The depth of the field in XC1 and XC2, and even in our A class, as far as, I mean, look at the 1, 2, 3, 4 different riders out of our A classes up inside our top 20. So really exciting stuff as far as the 2026
Actually,
season.
7.
I was about to say, yeah.
The blue, that used to be XC2. That's now Open A, apparently. So Cole Whitmer, Van Adams, and Will Steven Piper are out of that Open A class. So, yeah, we've got 7 overall, or 7 amateur riders, A-class riders, inside the top 20 overall.
Yeah, shouting them out. Cooper Jones, Cole Whitmer, Chase Landers, Jigs Fustini back with us, Van Adams, Michael DeLosa, and Will Steven Piper. So, man, the kids are all right.
Yeah, man, they're ripping and putting in some great rides in very, very challenging conditions.
So hanging out here at the 11-mile marker, and
Johnny
right
Gerard.
on cue, Johnny Running Deer looking solid. He's still flying, too. I mean, he's in the attack position. It looks like he's flowing with this track right now.
He is. It looks like he has opened up that gap even a little bit more over the number 3 of Jordan Ashburn. Still, if Jordan Ashburn's able to finish this one out in the number 2 spot, not saying he can't still win this thing, but that would be a phenomenal debut ride on board that new Phoenix Racing Honda team. For that new team, you know, new ride, new bike, new everything. What a better way than to put it in or on the podium, at least, even if not in the center. But Jordan Ashburn not showing up here. This is a lot of time. I don't think that Johnny Gerard put time on Jordan Ashburn. Something has happened. Jordan Ashburn either went down, but this is too much time for Johnny Gerard to have just gained in a couple miles of racing. Something has happened here to Jordan Ashburn. We'll hope that he's able to get going, pick himself up if he's fallen down, but this is a lot of time lost here, folks.
Watching and waiting for the number 3 Phoenix Honda of Jordan Ashburn. Man, that would be so tough.
There he is.
There he is. It does look like he's gotten rid of the goggles now as well.
That may swing the way of Nick DeFeo, though. Will that be enough for DeFeo to now displace him back to that 3rd spot on the overall podium? We'll wait and we'll watch the clock here and see just how quickly Nick DeFeo comes. He was losing time. He had definitely kind of lost the pace of those top 2, but
we'll wait and see.
All right, DeFeo still not working his way. DeFeo still has not made it through here at the 11-mile marker, so it appears that Jordan Ashburn may still be safe for that 2nd spot on the overall podium. We won't know until they get their way across the finish line, but we're going to have to go to the transponder scoring on this one, but it does appear that Jordan Ashburn, even though it lost quite a bit of time, maybe close to a minute on Johnny Girard there, he still has quite a big gap over Nick DeFeo. DeFeo still has not made it through here, and we're also still waiting on Stu Baylor, third place in our XC1 class, sitting in that 5th spot in the overall.
Yeah, don't forget Baylor in a battle as well with Reardon as far as on elapsed times for that 4th overall spot. So, and the XC1 class, obviously, overall positioning mattering very much.
Yeah, and 16 seconds was the gap between those two at the completion of lap number 5. So Baylor needed to make up 16 seconds on Reardon to put himself in position to grab away that 4th place spot. And like you pointed out, those top 4 points in the overall pay bonus points. So you know Stu Baylor wanting to come out of here with every point that he can here today from Big Buck.
So hanging here at the 11-mile marker, still waiting on the 2:46 of Nick DeFeo, potentially the 5:14 of Stu Baylor.
I'm wondering if there might be a bottleneck or something in this section of track here that's causing these guys to lose time, because these gaps are definitely changing dramatically. And at least yesterday, there wasn't anything really crazy in this section. But obviously the conditions are so different that we could be looking at a massive bottleneck just down below this hill. There could be 20, 30, 40, 100 bikes stuck there. Oh, and look at this. Stu Baylor has gotten around DeFeo. Baylor's bike smoking quite a bit, and that is not DeFeo behind him, but that rider's ripping along pretty good, feet on the pegs, whoever it was, and still no Nick DeFeo. There is DeFeo. So DeFeo still holding on to that lead in the XC2 class, and Baylor does not have a big enough gap on him right now to push him off the overall podium. Let's see where exactly Gus Reardon comes in here. He's not close enough at this point, at least, to make a move. But DeFeo definitely lost a bunch of time, and Stu Baylor was able to actually make the pass and pull away. That's Craig DeLong.
Wow.
Yeah, DeLong is charging. May run out of racetrack, but definitely showing he has the speed and the intensity here at the end of this one. He's getting closer to Baylor, sitting in that number 4 spot in the XC1. And as they ran last lap, he was 8th. Now, we know that he has definitely passed Ryder Lafferty. We'll see what he's able to do on corrected time. There is Lafferty right there. So still a very solid ride for him there in the number 5 spot. Look at this. Here comes Gus Reardon, still charging, not exactly knowing how far Nick DeFeo is ahead of him, but he knows he's racing for those overall positions as well. And he needs to really charge if he wants to continue to stay ahead of Stu Baylor in that overall uncorrected time. 16 seconds was the tail of the tape just a lap ago. Will he be able to do enough?
Yeah, and I believe in this section, every lap we've seen Reardon take that alternate line, a little bit different than most of the rest of the field, but seems to be working pretty well for him. A rather aggressive adjustment back into the main line, but honestly, as the main line's gotten more and more beat up, it looked a bit better, but just like you said, could be too little too late. But how about it? I mean, Craig DeLong on the charge.
There's Ben Kelly.
Ben Kelly moving forward as well.
Trying to maximize points here, and just behind him is Liam Draper. So he did pass Draper back. Draper was definitely ahead of him in that last camera shot. And nope, lap rider. So valuable points for Ben Kelly making a pass there, potentially putting himself back into that number 10 spot ahead of Draper. In the last camera shot, Draper was definitely ahead of him there. And look at this, folks. Fast forward. We didn't catch him in the pits, but this is coming to the finish. And Johnny Girard on that number 80 Red Bull FMF KTM out front, leading the way, revving that machine up. He's done enough. He will cross the finish line. I thought he was going to try to pull a wheelie there, folks, but it is a celebration for Johnny Girard grabbing the win here at the Big Buck GNCC. Take a look over his shoulder, Zach. Doesn't know where Jordan Ashburn went. Probably waiting to find out. He's probably asking the question, how much time do I have on Nick DeFeo? Johnny Girard, you have done enough. You definitely have the overall win.
How about it? You can see the smile. The teeth might be covered in mud, but he is smiling ear to ear as Johnny Girard kicks off the 2026 season with an XC1 and overall win. And here come the hugs. That's what it's all about. Hearing him break things down with the team. What a performance from Johnny Girard.
Mud monster.
Yes.
That's what he looks like. Johnny Muddy Deer.
Yes, very muddy. So now flipping back to a few corners before that checkered flag, you hear the excitement out of Johnny Gerard and that entire KTM crew. Well deserved.
There's Ashburn.
As Ashburn, a fantastic ride, going to come up just short of the XC1 Pro win, but certainly a very positive debut for that Phoenix Racing Honda crew. And Jordan Ashburn, one more corner to go, and Ashburn going to take the #2 spot in your XC1 Pro class.
Well, you can see Jordan pushing across the line, and you know that he knows that Nick DeFeo and several other XC2 riders are back there close. Last from what we had saw at the last camera shot, Jordan will be that P2 overall, but we won't know for certain until Nick DeFeo crosses the line, because I think it's quite a bit over a minute, but we'll see here in just a matter of a few minutes. Jordan not quite as excited as Johnny Gerard, but you can see he's got to still be pretty pumped to put that machine on the overall podium in what we believe will be the #2 spot. That is a fantastic debut ride on that new Phoenix Honda Racing Honda CR450.
Yeah, you see him breaking things down with the crew there, talking about just how hard it is to hold on. It sounds like potentially blowing the hands off the handlebars. We'll try to get the scoop here in just a few, but absolutely incredible ride from the #3 of Jordan Ashburn.
I got back on the bike and every time I hit a hole, my hands would come off. I couldn't do it. All good, Jordan. Good race. Good race.
Hey, we heard, so Ashburn said right there, every time I'd hit a hole, my hands would blow off the handlebars. It's so difficult to grab the grips when they're covered in this thicker mud. We talked about it when the rain kept falling. Things were thin enough to where it almost dripped off of the grips. Wouldn't be as much of a problem, but man, once that rain stopped, it got slimy, it got sticky, and man, certainly made things difficult. But Ashburn fought through it for a second place out of your XC1 Pro class. Now it all comes down to the clock. How far can Nick DeFeo charge up? We'll be looking for Stu Baylor, Gus Reardon as well. Try to figure out exactly how this top 5 overall is going to shake out. My, how things changed earlier today. Everybody funneling to that inside. That was the spot to be. Now it's a 6-foot hole and everybody going way to the outside.
Man, it's getting so dark. You can tell the weather conditions not improving at all, even if the rain has stopped. And looks like we may have Stu Baylor, and there he is. Baylor coming through. That will be 3rd in that XC1 class, unless Nick DeFeo has had some major issues in these final. Oh, look at this. There's a bottleneck coming to the finish line here. Stu Baylor going to take a look and see. He's got some riders stuck there. Revs it across the finish line. 3rd place in XC1. We'll wait until Nick DeFeo comes in to see if Stu Baylor holds on to that overall podium position, or if DeFeo comes across the line soon enough to push him back to 4th.
Nobody did. No, somebody hit me in the head. Oh, okay.
It looks like, is that DeFeo that just crossed the line there? It has not refreshed yet. It is. Nick DeFeo is in. 3rd place overall on the overall podium for Nick DeFeo. And Craig DeLong has also come in only 19 seconds behind Stu Baylor. A heck of a last lap. Nick DeFeo doing the loop out after the finish line. XC2 winner and 3rd place overall. The young man loves Big Buck.
Man, fantastic. Nick DeFeo on the overall podium and grabs that XC2 win. That's what it's all about. That's a healthy boss-employee relationship, it looks like.
We see the fist pump. Stu says, hey, I passed you back, but you still got me for the overall podium. But either way, it's a win if you're Stu Baylor, because he may have gotten bumped off the overall podium, but his teammate and rider, Nick DeFeo, backs up a phenomenal performance of a year ago, again here today at Big Buck, on the overall podium in the #3 spot.
See Doug Doucette there breaking things down with T-Rex, a big part of that Rocky Mountain Red Bear Kawasaki team. Wait a second.
Gus Reardon is checked in 48 seconds behind Nick DeFeo. He was over 2 minutes behind last lap. And Gus Reardon putting in an absolute hero's last lap, getting the gap down to just 48 seconds at the finish line. He will finish 2nd in that XC2 class and 5th spot overall.
Man, absolutely fantastic charge at the end of the race for Gus Reardon. As we're waiting for everybody to get settled down there just after the finish line. Jackson Burrow going to be getting our top 3 overall.
A few more riders have checked in. Ryder Lafferty, 7th overall. Liam Draper, 8th overall. Ben Kelly, 9th overall. Cooper Jones has not checked in, so we'll have to wait just a little bit longer to see how many of those riders he may bump in the overall. He was down to 6th place in that overall last we had seen. We'll see when he checks in, give him some love. Mike Witkowski is now checked in, 10th spot in the overall. Still waiting on Cooper Jones. But it looks like our man Jackson Burrell is down there with today's 2nd place finisher, Jordan Ashburn.
I sure am. Jordan Ashburn, 2nd place overall here today. You're making the Honda machine look good. Take us through it.
Yeah, I got a good start. Got in the front really quick after, I think I was second into the woods. Just kind of pushed hard, but kind of felt the track out to see where the deep holes were, and tried to play safe the first 3 laps, and then really just kind of settled in, and then I got a little bit of a gap. I felt really comfortable, and man, my arms were getting smoked there toward the end. All the ruts, it was so physical, and Johnny got me back, and then I got him back the last lap, and then I was leading, and ended up trying to go around a lapper and slid down, and then it was just down. It was like a slippery slope after that. I fell a couple times after that, couldn't keep my hands on the bars, got all muddy, and yeah, I'm happy to bring in a P2, and man, I'm so thankful for this team giving me the opportunity, and I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Man, just what an opportunity and blessing to be here, and I'm so happy.
Jordan, I know there has to be so much anticipation coming into a new team, into a new season. How does it feel to start the season off like this?
Really solid. You know, I had a lot of confidence in the bike, and I really just wanted to see what we could do this weekend. And of course, conditions were really, I mean, obviously bad, but I feel like the bike handled it well, and we done the best we could today, and we'll be back to fight for more.
That's what we like to hear. 2nd overall, Jordan Ashburn.
Great stuff there. Great stuff from the number 3, Jordan Ashburn, and like you said, feeling mighty justified in that decision, joining that Phoenix Racing Honda crew and putting it up on the box. An absolute dogfight, and yeah, sounds like a little bit more back and forth than we may have thought on that final lap, but just so difficult to be able to hold on. And not to mention, it's been 2 hours and 45 minutes of racing, and then we throw some sticky soil on your handlebars, and then throw you through a minefield basically of potholes. So obviously Jordan leaving it all out there on the track, and like we said, always so optimistic, talking about the positives. He wants that win. We know how hard he fights for it. He's capable of getting it. He knows he's got some good momentum headed his way.
Absolutely. You know, and to start this season off on a new team, on a new bike, with a podium finish and leading quite a bit of this race, you know that's got to be a great feeling for him, and it's only going to build momentum, confidence, and get him even closer to the position he wants to be in heading into Florida in just 2 weeks.
So continuing to watch more of our riders make their way through the finish line here as our lead group moving through. Everybody hanging out. That's the spot to be when the checker flag comes out. The celebrations, the teams go wild. We'll have our podium celebrations coming up here in just a little bit, but man, what a way to kick off the 2026 season. We've had a little bit of everything, a little dust, a little rain, a little shine, a little bit of it all out here to kick off the 26 season. And if that's a preview for what's in store for the rest of the year, man, year 51 going to kick off with a bang.
Absolutely. You know, it's been an interesting weekend, obviously, with the tale of 2 racetracks between yesterday and today. But the motorcycle guys definitely came out on the short end of the stick as far as the conditions, but we certainly did not come out on the short end of the stick as far as the drama and the race action. And it looks like our 3rd place finisher in XC1 and 4th place overall, Stu Baylor, is down with our man Jackson Burrell.
Yeah, he sure is. Our 3rd place overall, getting the eyes cleaned out right now. So we're going to 3rd place in the XC1 class. Stu, quite the day here today. Take us through this muddy race.
Yeah, it was, man, it was frustrating out there. Just a lot of mistakes on my behalf, and especially in that first half, I really didn't feel like I rode at all the way that I should until the very last lap. Just rushing some things, trying to make quick moves and making mistakes along the way. Yeah, taking too much off at once. But yeah, things started to click there towards the end, but I lost front brakes 4 turns in. I collided with another rider, and I think I've done something there in the front end. So just right off the bat, no front brakes. And in the back of my mind, I was going, you know what, towards the end, everybody's going to lose brakes. So hopefully at that point, the pace will change. But yeah, it's still really difficult out there. Like riding without rear brakes is one thing, but without front, like shit, as a pro rider, that's 70% of everything. So it's tough. A lot of doggy paddling, but it was fun overall. The conditions were actually, I would say, better than last year.
Hey, well, you can't beat that, Stu. And it's not just you up on the podium. 2 of your team members up on the podium, XC1, XC2, and the overall, man. How does that feel?
Yeah, definitely. It's awesome. I was stoked to see Nick up there. Yeah, he was riding really good. He made quick work. The XC1 guys got right in the mix of us there the first lap, and I sat on his rear tire and saw him getting pretty frustrated. The XC1 guys were just blasting him with mud, and he was trying to make quick work, but just wasn't quick enough. But no, I knew he would be good here. We've spent a lot of time riding conditions like this, and I think that definitely paid off.
Hey, a quick turnaround. We're going to be headed to Florida, and then a place that you like, Talladega. How you feeling headed in the next couple?
Yeah, I'm feeling really good, man. We this year with Factory Connection actually got to go do some testing down in Florida, which is something that I haven't done in the past couple of years. So feeling good for Florida, man. We put a lot of work into this. My career's kind of coming to an end here within the next couple seasons, like 2 at the most. So, I'm ready, getting prepared to hang up the boots, and I gotta put my focus here, and luckily my wife's been helping out a lot with the team so that I can put my focus back on racing. And obviously I've got my hands on a lot of things within racing, but just kind of preparing for that next step. But got to give it up to my whole team, my wife, my family, the Rocky Mountain Red Bear Kawasaki team, Rocky Mountain ATV, MC, Race Kawasaki, Redline Oil, Pirelli, SOS, Environmental Golf, Helmet House, Shoei, Cherbys, Yoshimura, Factory Connection, XC Gear, ASV, MSR, Tusk Power Sports, all the fans, man. Big Buck's always great. They love being mud fleas out here.
There it is, everybody. Your third place in the XC1 class, Stu Baylor.
Well, Zach, a very happy man, and for very good reason. A very successful day, not only for him as a racer, but him as a team owner and team manager. Obviously, seeing one of your young riders get their second ever XC2 win, and once again, for the second time in as many years, be on the overall podium here at Big Buck. I'm sure it's a very fulfilling feeling for Stu. He talks about he's got many hats, and he's got his kind of hands in many things here in this racing world, and that is absolutely true. But he balances it well and gets himself on the XC1 podium here today, and a 4th place overall finish. Great way to start the season.
Absolutely, yeah. We know how fierce of a competitor Stu Baylor is, but he's also takes just as much pride in his team as well. And speaking of his team, Jackson Burrell standing by with 3rd overall. He does it once again here at Big Buck. T-Rex, Nick DeFeo.
Nick, what is it about Big Buck that suits your style so much?
The mud.
The mud, man. You put on quite the show today. We had our eyes on you all day long. Take us through your race.
I got a good start. I was top 3. And then I picked off the guys in my class and charged to the end of XC1. Got around a couple of those guys, got stuck in a couple mud holes. And then it was like the 3rd lap, I found something different, and I pushed to the front of the XC1 pack, and I just kept getting around people without them even noticing because my bike was so quiet because there's mud over the exhaust. But I just started picking people off, and then me and Johnny were in a battle, and I think he didn't have any brakes, and he hit me, and then a bunch of mud went in my eye, and I had no goggles on, and then from there on out, I really couldn't see anything. I was like blinking the whole time, and I really can't see anything right now. It's really cloudy, but I just made my way to the finish. I really wanted that overall again, but winning the class will do.
There it is, Nick DeFeo, your 3rd place overall.
And how about that? Out of the XC2 class, he gets an overall podium, and he's still saying, I wanted that overall, but the class win will do.
Well, obviously, it's different when it's within your grasp. You know, he felt he had it in hand. Obviously, had a little issue with getting some mud in the eyes there and slowed him down. We definitely saw the pace drop off considerably. We weren't sure what the issue was, but we gathered that there likely was an issue, and it sounds like he was definitely having some vision issues. But still, to be able to put it on the overall podium, to get that XC2 win, a great day for Nick DeFeo here at Big Buck. And he's going to have fond memories for one more year at this place, at least.
Yeah, no, I think he's selling himself short. It can't just be the mud. We've had mud in a lot of other places, but the stars certainly seeming to align here. But, man, talking about the stars align, Johnny Running Deer, Big Buck, I'm connecting the dots, and Jackson Burrell standing by with your overall and XC1 winner.
I have found the madman, Johnny Gerard. Johnny, what a ride for you today. Take us through it.
Yeah, that was solid. Just cruising the first couple hours and trying to stay out of them deep holes, and yeah, just put the hammer down the last couple laps, and little battle with Nick there, and then back and forth with Jordan a handful of times, and I'd make a mistake, he'd go by me, and he'd make a mistake, I'd go by him, lappers getting in the way and stuff. The track was just brutal out there, but it was good.
Johnny, congratulations on getting back up to the top step. I've got to ask you, we've been talking about it. We got to hear the story about the earring earlier. Do we think that brought some luck?
Yeah, the Chief is here, baby.
Oh, you heard it. Johnny, we were headed back into Florida here in just a couple weeks. That was a place you put on quite a show last year. How you feeling?
I like the sand. Let's do it, round 2.
There it is, your overall winner, Johnny Girard.
I might like the Chief better. That might be the new one. He is feeling good, feeling dangerous. Absolutely, yeah. He was looking strong and made quite the impression to close out the opening round of the 2026 season. Like we said, a tale of 2 tracks between yesterday and today. Mother Nature just couldn't miss out on a season opener. And Ben Kelly, a lot of eyes on him coming here into round 1. There is Johnny Girard. Maybe some question marks surrounding what Johnny would be able to do. It was a solid start for Liam Draper, Grant Davis, but Jordan Ashburn was right up in the mix from the jump. And, man, he was in control of this thing the first few laps.
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan Ashburn got to the front. We know he does very well in these conditions. He had clear vision. He was picking great lines and setting a pace. It seemed like Grant Davis had a little something for him early on, was really pushing. We could see how tough the conditions were. A lot of riders laying on the ground. Caleb Russell, Thad Duvall, so many riders in the mix early. And then suddenly we saw it was an 250A rider, Cooper Jones, leading the first lap of racing and keeping that gap and pushing the pace. Grant Davis getting to the front, starting to pick the pace up. Jojo Cunningham was running very well in that XC2 class, leading the way throughout much of it. But Ben Kelly, some struggles early on, ended up bringing it home for a top 10, but definitely not the ride he was looking for here today. But the story up front, well, then we saw this. Caleb Russell, obviously unable to open his eyes. They actually forced themselves shut. Craig DeLong hitting the deck when he was ahead of Stu Baylor. Got back up, though, and charged back only 19 seconds behind Baylor at the finish.
Yeah, the conditions continued to get more and more challenging throughout the race. The rain eventually coming to a halt, but that didn't make things any easier. The mud starting to thickening up, and that made the last few laps of the race a wild ride. We heard from Jordan Ashburn, made it almost impossible to stay hanging on to the machine. Stu Baylor started to work his way forward, but man, Johnny Girard clicked the afterburners, and Johnny Runendeer, the Chief, grabbing that XC1 and overall win. He was fired up. He wanted to make sure he had it on overall corrected time. And as soon as he found out, the smile popped out, and he knew he was the man to beat here at the VP Racing Fuels Big Buck GNCC. Jordan Ashburn, as always, taking the positives away from it, knows he's got the speed. He's feeling good on that new machine, more than capable of being a threat for this title.
Absolutely. Stu Baylor coming across the line in 3rd spot in XC1. Taking a look back over his shoulder, looking for his young teammate Nick DeFeo. The loop out at the finish line for the win in XC2, pushing his team owner off the podium, taking that 3rd spot on the overall podium. But good fun between those two. You can see the little fist bump, and Stu even helped him flip the bike back over.
That is what it's all about. A ton of fun as we take a look at our Rocky Mountain ATVMC top 10. It was Johnny Girard grabbing the win, Jordan Ashburn and Nick DeFeo, your top 3, Stu Baylor and Gus Reardon. Gonna round out your top 5, Craig DeLong, Ryder Lafferty, a solid top 10 finish, Liam Draper, Ben Kelly, and Mike Wachowski. Gonna round your top 10 overall from the VP Racing Fuels Big Buck GNCC. There was a lot of question marks coming into this weekend and coming into today. Johnny, what stood out to you?
I think for me, it's going to be the tough conditions, meaning that it's almost like all the questions that we thought we would get answers today, I think we maybe just have more. A lot of top riders that I think could have been in the mix, obviously having issues today. But the one thing I think we can definitively say is Johnny Girard's back. You know, it was tough conditions. You could say winning a mud race isn't the same, but he put in a sprint late in that race. He's confident, he's riding well, and he got the job done today. So tough conditions, a lot of questions still to be answered, but one we know for sure. Johnny Girard's back, baby.
No doubt about it. Feeling good. The Chief, as he calls himself, is looking good and looking forward to round 2. We saw an exciting battle between himself and Caleb Russell last year. You know Caleb's going to show up with a chip on the shoulder, as is the kid, Grant Davis, not getting to show entirely what he's capable of in the XC1 class. So as if you couldn't be more excited for round 2, I'm already counting down the clock.
Here we go. Let's do it. We got less than 2 weeks to go, because if you take the 3 hours away that we've already done today, we're less than 2 weeks to go, and it's time to do it all again.
There it is. I can't wait. It's going to be a ton of fun coming up here, of course, live on RacerTV.com. And speaking of Racer TV, let's talk about those upcoming broadcasts. Before we get down to the Wildboard GNCC, we're going to kick off the 2026 J-Day off-road season. The Boswick Creek GP going to be on February 24th. That is a Tuesday, so if you guys are at work, I won't tell if you won't, but make sure you're tuned in to RacerTV.com to kick off that season. Then we'll head down to Palatka, Florida for GNCC Round 2. February 28th, going to be the ATV Pro Day. And then, of course, Sunday, going to be our Bike Day. We'll be live at 1:30 on Saturday, 12:30 on Sunday. And then right after that, the party keeps rocking. We head over to Daytona, the Ricky Carmichael Amateur Supercross, live from Daytona. Going to be on March 2nd and March 3rd, Vintage Day there on March 3rd. It's going to be a ton of fun. You don't want to miss a single lap of the action. All of it going to be right here on Racer TV. Hey, we've got some thank yous to hand out. It takes a village to put on this presentation. We want to start off with our executive producer, Carrie Jo Russell. Of course, OPAG, our producer, Adam Gordon, our director, Don Hampton, our replay operator, Cameron Cotter, our engineer in charge, Jordan McFadden, our second engineer, Jack Renner, our manager, Dan Reinhardt, and our official spotter, Dave Hollywood Kripe. All of our amazing camera operators, Jack Renner, Mike Nichols, Dylan Atkins, Adam Atkins, Josh Hefner, Adam Arndt, David Mucknew, Dave Kelsch, Brian Risch, our drone pilot, Gabe Shull, for Jackson Burrow and Johnny Gallagher. I'm Zach Herron. We'll see you guys next time right here on Racer TV.